Hello, everybody, and happy Monday. Oh, here we go. Nice. I wanted to get YouTube chat over here. Got it. All right, so today, what is going on today? Today, Adam is going to start with some housekeeping, namely, hey, Daniel, namely his tenants. See tenants. It's a quarter red. Now it's 20% red. But yeah. Hey, Rambling Geek. Hey, Rambling Geek, I wanted to check out your VOD because I like to see who's rating and everything. And I noticed you have your VODs set to, I think, subscribers only. Um, I wanted to ask about that. Why do you do that? Did I figure out the network issues? I didn't do anything specific, but they seem like they're just kind of worked out on their own. And I'm not sure what happened. Might have been any number of things. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen again. All right, Adam's going to start with some housekeeping, namely his tenants. After that, he'll get back to working on his YouTube bot. After that, there's going to be a mentoring session. Let's see, mentoring with Kyle. Hey, Shane. Okay, cool. Yeah, so housekeeping. Let's start with tenants. So, tenant review. All right, breaks still going well. I don't feel like I've been burned out midstream. So, I mean, I think this is going fine. At some point, by the way, we remove this from the list and we just do it normally. Mix it up is definitely going well. Definitely going well. I'm planning to experiment in a lot of ways, and I don't feel like I'm always doing the same thing. Even though there are only sometimes very little differences. If you look at last week, it was only 3 days, right? Yeah. So chatting about the direction of the stream, bot, co-working. Yeah, we're trying different things. Tried the co-working thing again on Thursday, which was a good experience other than the technical difficulties that we were just talking about. Adam does science. Hey, Sam. Hey, Amber. So Casey, I also want to look at my face is a bit see-through. Okay, yeah, that means that I don't have the lighting set correctly. I moved some lights around. Thank you for telling me. But this means that I've got like a green glow on my face, which is also potentially problematic. All right, so let's change that. And then, okay, there, it's lighting me better. And I could angle this so that it's actually toward me. There. Okay, that's hopefully better. See my thoughts. Publish them as needed. Come close to doxing myself. I see. Okay, good. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I don't want to convince you to do something differently. I think some channels publish them to subscribers based on something they read. And I think that if you're trying to grow as a streamer, having those be available is good. Anyway, don't change anything. Certainly not on my behalf. Yeah, just curious about that. So thanks for answering. All right, light on. Post stream to dos. Still probably not going great, but this is what co-working is supposed to address. It'll give me a time to work on that stuff. Yeah, which is very important. MVP definitely going fine. This is why I chose YouTube.js instead of the YouTube API directly. All right, sustainability. I feel so much better that we talked about the direction of the stream. I also had a community manager meeting. I feel like these things are for the long-term sustainability of the stream. In general, I'm not super concerned about any issues here. All right, don't shy away from boring activities. Co-working. Enough said. What else? Embrace failure. No real opportunity to do this. The only failure last week was a technical one that I couldn't really do anything about. I mean, I suppose where there's a will, there's a way, right? I probably could have tried like, what if I am on my phone's internet and I use a hotspot to my computer but I'm not going to do that level of recovering from errors or something. It's not that important. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this one fine. Community had the first meeting as just mentioned above. And I want to talk about this in just a sec. I just want to make sure I'm getting through this. Okay, so now finally, celebrate the successes. By the way, this should just be retired. This is not really a tenant. Retired on today. And rationale. I don't think this is really a tenant. I also don't usually have the opportunity to exercise this. Yeah, that's it. Poking for over 20 years. Started as a full-time game dev a year ago. Nice, 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 nice. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I just like checking that sort of thing out and just kind of seeing who's in the community, who's rating, that sort of thing. Um, and I appreciate it, by the way. It's too bad that there were the technical issues last time, but hopefully they've just stopped completely. Yeah, 3 redundant ISPs, like a bunch of uninterruptible power supplies. Yeah, MPV. Did you buy a cupcake and absolutely smother it with whipped cream to celebrate? Imagine if that's all I did. I didn't eat the cupcake. I was just like, this is what Raimi did. Smother a cupcake in whipped cream. Hey, Chippy. All right, so yeah, celebrate the successes. Let's see. Last week was a short week. I think the major success was in talking about the stream. It's nice to have that outlet, and it's nice to try to scope down what I plan to do in a given year. Now, very interesting to me. Let me close out of all these tabs I had. Actually, you know what? Engage privacy mode. Let me do something else here. Whoops. Quit this. Quit this. Okay, do I have any other windows? Because I clearly did not install and relaunch. Give me a sec. Anything else? This and this. Okay, I think we're in good shape now. Yeah. Okay. Oh wait, no, I have a million other documents. So where did those tabs come from? Okay, now I think we're fine. Should we see that tiny window? Yes, that tiny window is like 80 pixels big, so there's no way you could make out text or anything. Only if I had a picture taking up the entirety of the screen would you be able to see what that picture is, I suppose. Hey, Haxie-chan. So, I wanted to talk about a couple things, and then we can get into coding. For one, tenant review is done. Managing the daily list, this is something I kind of want to do, but isn't something we need to talk about. Figuring out which videos people want to see. Yeah, we'll just put this lower on the list. This is not the important stuff. Okay. The important stuff was community engagement. So a lot of you have joined Discord, and actually a lot of you joined Discord like 8 years ago. And that was it. It was, oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. It said today successfully edited, and then the whoops command worked. What happened here? Why did that not work for me? What? Hang on a second. Let me SSH into my machine and see really fast. That might be a problem. Docker ps-a docker logs. What do we have? Abbott bots C9F. Failed to subscribe. Socket for users not connected or does not have a session ID yet. This should never happen. Please file a bug in the GitHub issue tracker. What? What? This is the error I got. All right, we'll need to take a look at this at some point. Error, subscription, stream.online failed to subscribe. Socket for users not connected or does not have a session ID. And then what, this thing just restarted? How did it respond to the command the second time? Docker logs C9F. What is going on? How did this... I'm so confused. How did... Is it... Is this responding to things? How is it responding if it's not online? Oh, it didn't crash. Okay, never mind. Nothing crashed. But that also doesn't make sense because I got the notification here. Oof, I don't know. All right, well, this sucks. I do not know what this means, Fled. Who is Sam Harris? Home of the Making Sense podcast. Yep, still don't understand. Oh, really? Okay, well, I should write this down somewhere. Yeah. Maybe I just restart the bot. I don't know. Also, when did this happen? I wonder. This probably happened yesterday. The subscribe is not connected or does not have a session ID yet. Yeah, maybe that's the issue. Look into this for the bot. This happened on today. I think that maybe this happens when I start the bot without being online. Since my power had gone out and I turned on the mini PC on a weekend. I don't know. Okay, well, none of that's what I wanted to talk about right now. I wanted to talk about the community management stuff. I see Fled. What was the error again? I see that going live notification doesn't have a title. Yeah, it hasn't had a title sometimes. I'm not sure about that. The error for this one was this failed to subscribe. Socket for users not connected doesn't have a session ID. And maybe that all that means is that the user's not online, which was true at the time. If you want to see that some more, there's today.adamlearns.com. I've removed sub-only on archives, which must be newish and by default. Interesting that they would have made that by default. I guess it cuts down on the amount of bandwidth Twitch needs to provide. It's one of those like, well, we'll change the default and it'll cut bandwidth by 8% and that'll save us money every month. And hey, people can always change it if they want to. Anyway, like I said, you didn't need to do that based on what I had said. But yeah, I think it'll help you for growth on Twitch if you're aiming for growth, because then at least people can check out your content afterward and also form clips and stuff afterward. Also, it does mean that if you do leak something, that it's going to be out there in a much more easily digestible sense. So community management, I wanted to talk about that. Where did that go? Yeah, we're going to do some of this right now, and then I don't want to get too sidetracked away from the YouTube stuff. So we had a meeting. There are 5 volunteer community managers, and they volunteered back in 2020, and we finally had the first meeting. Woohoo! So all 5 people showed up, and then myself, of course, and we came up with some action items. So there's going to be a poll on Discord, and it's going to be about what people want to see. Do they want more competitive stuff? Or do they want more like game stuff? This is at least the first thing. It's not like these are the only pieces of content that'll ever exist. And then based on that, I think Rami is going to set up one of those sessions. Rami will set up a session of something. So there's that. I am going to try to set up weekly work sessions on Discord and try to make it to the first couple. So I'm not totally sure. Calendar 2024. Let's go take a look at one of these. So we're at the end of February, the 2nd. I think Saturday the 9th, I'll set one up. I wanted to ask, so first of all, what is the session? It's a body doubling session. So do work around other people that are doing work. You don't have to talk or share video. In fact, you're probably not encouraged to talk. Competitive versus game, like competitive would be something, I don't know, like a code competition or something, and a game would be like, let's play Minecraft. Or maybe the competitive thing is let's play a game against each other or something. I don't know. Anyway, the point is a poll is going to go out. The actual discussion here doesn't matter too much because we could always try them both. So this is just what do we want to try at first. Strategy to avoid subscribing to channels you're interested in is working perfectly. In this case, I don't think I'd ever subscribe to someone whose content I couldn't see before subscribing. That'd be very tough. I'd be down for that. Yeah. That being the body doubling session. Yeah. So here's my question, and Sam, you're the perfect person to answer this. I want 2 separate times each week. One time is something that's good for me, and then another time is going to be something that's good for Europe. So I was thinking the time for me is maybe like Saturday at 8:30 a.m. And to give you an idea, it is currently 8:52. So like roughly at this time, at roughly the current time. Just relocate to EU. Well, the point is, even if I were in EU, then I would say a time that's good for me and a time that's good for US. I know, not in the EU, but you're in Europe still. It's not like the continent has changed. But so yeah, Sam, if you were to just dictate what time would this be and what day, I guess, like Friday, Saturday, it could be any day really, I guess. What day, what time, and we could just try this out. And if people can make it, if they can't make it, it doesn't really matter. People can always host their own if they want. This is just something to kind of kickstart the community. So I still need to set this up. And I guess I want to do this for March 9th. I think Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. could be good. Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know. Anyway, if anyone wants to chime in and say what time would be good for them if they live in Europe somewhere, because I could just do the exact same, but for people in Europe. So it'd be like 12:30 a.m. for me. But I don't know. And this is the kind of thing too where if people are interested, they can just join. They don't have to join. If this idea fizzles out, okay, that's totally fine. I'd probably try it 2-3 times and just kind of see how it goes. And then I might not commit to joining. I think it's a nice thing to just kind of have and show the community like, hey, this works. Sunday at 11 p.m. All right, whatever. I'll just figure out the EU friendly time myself and then just put a sad face there. There we go. All right, then the final thing, and I kind of wanted to do this now, is make a Google form. Will I be wearing a shirt? You won't know what I'll be wearing because I don't plan on being on video. Sunday and 4 p.m. EU time. I guess that kind of accommodates, it's pretty much the same time as what I picked for Saturday. Also, EU time. What is EU time? All right, how do I make a form? Blank form. Okay, what are we calling this? Code review signups for the Adam Learns stream. Okay, so main questions is what is your favorite ice cream? All right, no, real main question is going to be what is your GitHub link? Note this must either be public or shared with Adam at adamlearns.live. And I'll write it like this. Okay. Required, I guess. Yeah, required. Okay, now new question. What are you hoping to get out of the code review session? i.e., is there any particular thing you'd like Adam to look at? This is especially helpful if you have lots of code. Adam, um, you can direct Adam toward a particular subsystem. Yeah, UK is 8 hours ahead of me. EU is 9 hours ahead. Aren't there aren't there at least three time zones? Am I making this up? It it should be the project GitHub link, not the profile is kind of implied. Oh yeah. What is the thank you. What is the project's GitHub link? Yeah. I only use the one that's GMT plus one. Okay, then I'll write that down. Yeah, UK only has one time zone. That I would get. I was just thinking Europe though. It spans enough I guess longitude that I thought it'd be at least three times. Europe has four. Okay, good. Yeah. So I'm not going crazy. Okay, what are you hoping to get out of the code review session? Is there any particular thing you'd like Adam to look at? I have a question mark. This is especially helpful if you have lots of code. You can direct Adam toward a particular subsystem. So that's the really important stuff. What else do I have here? Ask when they're generally available. I don't even know if I want to do that. Oh, yeah. Maybe I should add this as a question. Is your project family friendly? This is a requirement for showing any code / material on stream, e.g. no especially bad language, sensitive topics, etc. Define friendly. I mean, I think people have a good sense of what this means after watching the stream. You've seen what I've streamed, you've seen how I talk, and we haven't had a problem with this in the past. But I think this is a pretty good question to have here. Is this project code review or PR code review? I don't know yet, and maybe I should narrow this down here. But this is kind of this bit. What are you hoping to get out of the code review session? Is there any particular thing you'd like Adam to look at? Especially helpful if you have lots of code, particular subsystem. You could even link directly to a PR if you want. Yeah. Can a repo be private but with me added as a contributor? Yeah, people might not mind showing their product, but might want to. Yeah. That's totally fine. And I think that's clear from here. This must either be public or shared with my email address. Do you share things on GitHub by email address? I forgot. Or do you share it with GitHub username? I think email address probably works. Okay, then is that it? Oh yeah, Twitch and Discord names. Yeah. Okay, so what is your Discord name? Note that this is the all lowercase name like Adam Learns, not your display name like Adam Learns. Okay. Okay, and then what is your Twitch name? Okay, I think that's it. And then the only other thing that we had been kind of talking about in the community meeting that we had is maybe this should only be open to subscribers. I could see it starting either way. Either you start with only subscribers, and then if it's not popular, open it up, or you start with everyone, and if it's too popular, close it down. So I don't think it really matters. And I think maybe we just start with everyone and then close it down. That way anyone can participate. Yeah. Because I think having this only be available to subs eventually is a good idea. Yeah. Ask for the language maybe. Guess it depends on what kind of depth you want to provide for reviews. I'm not gonna do that. Only because I want to see how this goes. And maybe I'll just write this here. This is still very experimental. Adam may not get to every review. He may not be able to help with your specific issues. He may not even know the language that you're coding in. Yeah. He hopes he can still provide some value, though. Oh, wait, we can italicize things here. There. Might need a followed for X time or Y amount of hours. Don't know if that's plausible. I think that this all comes down to this thing that's over here. If we started with everyone and it turned out to be popular, then yes, I would want some way to filter this down. If we only started with subs, then I don't think we'd have an issue, really. Also, think of what kind of damage could be done here. Let's say I open a repo and it's from just some random person. Excuse me, I'm only opening the repo. I'm not building code, I'm not running code. So, worst case scenario, I end up looking at code that I don't know, like a business wanted and not a person. I don't think there's much harm that could come out of this. So I think we'll just keep it open to everybody for right now. Is there anything else that I should put in this? Yeah. Want Adam to check out your code and provide some insight. Sign up here. Note, this is still very experimental. Adam may not get to every review. He may not be able to help with your specific issues. Yeah. Okay. Really friendly. Are you hoping to get on a code review session? What's your Discord name? Okay, yeah, so cool. Sounds good. All right, so now I click send and then get a link and then shorten. Okay, so here's the link. Oh, collect email addresses? Should I do that? I guess if I have your Discord and Twitch names, it doesn't really matter. I never want to show this on stream. I don't know about that. Yeah, let's just not collect them for now. Okay, sure. All right. So now we want to add a thing for code reviews. Do we have a code review command? I guess I could just check like this. Code review. No. Code review. Do you want... Well, what did I write at the top of the form? That was pretty good. I like that. Want Adam to check out your code and provide some insight? Sign up here. Sure. Okay. Yeah, this is still a very experimental segment of content for Adam. Yep. The commands just write themselves, yeah. Learning WPF and C# over the last 4 months and struggling with MMBVM and styling stuff in XAML. Yeah, so I guess signing up for something like that could be good, the code review. I don't know for sure that I can help, but maybe we'll learn together. I should also probably post on Discord about this. Some people here had expressed interest in having me do code reviews. I finally made the sign up form. And I want just this link. Please check, yeah. Please sign up if you're interested. Cool. All right. Why am I in so many Discords? Let's see. We've got mine, got EJ's, we got keyboard stuff, got streamers, random, games, servers I only joined for Botland, and then coding or communities. I don't check pretty much any other Discord other than my own. So I just happen to be in a bunch of them. Isn't there a max number you can be in anyway, like 50? Okay, I've talked about all the stuff I want to talk about. We've been online for 30 minutes. Honestly, that's not too bad for the housekeeping stuff. So let me update the today command again. Today. All right, ecom today, Monday. Adam is, delete all this, is back to working on his YouTube bot. After that, there's going to be a mentoring session with Kyle. See mentoring. This will be at a stream uptime of about, it's a current time. So it's 2 hours and 24 minutes from now. So about 3 hours. Yeah. Oh, there's only a limit on how many you can create. Oh, weird. Max Discord servers you can join. I thought there was a limit on how many. Yeah, 100. But that's for free users. I guess paid users can join even more. I wonder how many paid users can join. 200. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the thing is, I gotta say, it's practically impossible for you to interact with like 50 Discord servers, right? You could be getting notifications that you care about. Maybe there's a game you play and you want to subscribe to their news channel or something. But to actually meaningfully interact with that many is probably really tough. That's like you're like full-time Discord person. I find it hard enough to keep up with like one or two. Yeah, I agree. Anything more than five is too much. I mean, it really is that way. I mean, picture having a group chat message with like 5 separate groups of people. Probably constantly be getting messages. Interact with like 3 and run my own. Yeah. That's fine. But imagine having like 50 and saying this isn't enough. You need to go up to 100. Half of them are just streamer servers for the emotes. Yeah, full-time Discord kitten. Okay, so let's get to YouTube coding. Now, Casey shared some advice, and this happened to be on Discord. Let's just load it in Discord. And I don't remember where it was. I think in Twitch. Yeah. So here's a gist. And then let's copy the message too. Then, before we continue, let's give Casey a point. There we go. Okay, so this is my entirety of my file, right? So I guess I need to share the original file. Gist. Where are my gists? Here they are. Here it is. Copy this entire thing. Delete every tab we have open. All right, so here is my original code. And then here is the updated code. Updated code. Okay, so let's diff the two. Compare with, that's not what I meant to do. Although that does work. I just want to do this one. There. Okay. So universal cache and utils. YouTube channel ID. Sign into YouTube using the YouTube TV OAuth flow. In stores to built-in cache. Regarding built-in cache, this is the recommended way so you don't have to worry about managing your own GCP project. Yeah, let's take a look at this link. What is this about? Caching the transformed player instance can greatly improve your performance. Our universal cache implementation uses different caching methods depending on the environment. In Node, we use Node.fs. Sure. By default, cache stores data in the operating system's temporary directory. You can make this cache persistent. Sure. Yeah, this is fine. Wish there was a way to do code review reviews. I think the only way to really, well, I was going to say the only way to do that is to work with the person, but I guess not really. I could certainly review how someone reviews code to see if I catch something that they don't, but that would be a ton of work. But probably helpful. I think that's what you would get though by watching someone do code reviews, just seeing how they do them. And I think it's something I'm looking forward to doing. I hope people sign up. And yeah, then we just kind of weave this in. Also, it'll be nice to figure out how long it takes in general. Because I imagine there's probably some reviews where you look at it and it's going to take like 5 minutes, and then some that are going to take like 60 plus minutes. And so, what is the average going to end up being? Is it like 20 minutes and we don't have a lot of the super long ones? Or as this becomes more popular, does that just keep increasing and increasing because people are like, well, I'll just keep getting more and more value, I'll submit more code. Yeah, yeah. I think code reviews are very educational for everyone involved. And so normally code reviews are reviewer, reviewee. But in cases like this, you'll have reviewer, reviewee, and then like the whole stream. So it'll be interesting. Okay, so yeah, this was the cache. So create it with a cache on auth pending. Go to this URL and enter code to authenticate. Then we get the credentials and we need to store these to the database. I'm pretty sure this has the 5 things I need. So at some point we need to do some database design here. Oh man, my notes are a mess right now. This is part of the housekeeping I wanted to do. Yeah. Okay, let me collect myself. Where did I have all this stuff? Yeah, here. Goal, send a message through YouTube chat. So I can't do this until I have OAuth stuff. So I need to figure out what I want for OAuth. May want a YouTube ID in the table and be able to correlate it to a real user. Need to save creds in the database. Yeah. All right, let's figure this out. So I showed this off last time, but if I connect to the database right now, we have a table for Twitch OAuth tokens. And if I describe this table, you'll see we have the Twitch ID and then all the token information. So there's no reason we can't copy paste this entire table and just have YouTube ID and then all the information. However, Twitch ID corresponds to the user correlation table so that we can figure out who you actually are in the database. I should probably do this. Yeah. Hey, veggies. I should probably do this. I'm thinking of starting a side project, 2D game with Godot. I have 12 years experience with Java, but I haven't touched game dev yet. Any thoughts or suggestions? Honestly, I think you have enough experience where I'd say just try it out. And you said 2D game, so I have a course already made, and this is free, and you don't even have to find it through here. But if you want to check this out, here's all the stuff I learned when I did this years ago. And it's pretty easy to get started with and just kind of learn the philosophy of Godot and everything. So yeah, I suggest just diving in. Because really, if you think about it, within like a week, you should learn probably the basics of Godot. And you should be able to do stuff like move a character around or start just messing around with that. And then that'll open up a lot of doors. Yeah. Hey, 715-209. Okay, so database. Can you change your name on YouTube? I'm pretty sure you can. YouTube name change. How to change your YouTube name and channel name. Okay, how did this work on Twitch? On Twitch, you have an ID and that corresponds to a name and you can change a name. So on YouTube, it sounds like it works pretty much the same way. You have an ID, a name, you can change a name. So we need pretty much the same system and know that the names aren't always up to date. So describe users. So this would be a user in my database. And then we have user correlation, which has a Twitch ID and a Discord ID. So we need to add a YouTube ID. And then we need a, okay, so let's write this down. So make a user, modify user, what was it called? Correlation to have a YouTube ID. And then what was the other table that we have? Twitch names. Describe Twitch names. We have Twitch ID and a name. Yeah, so make a YouTube names table with a YouTube ID and a name, just like Twitch names. Yeah. Okay, so all that would do is give us what we need to be able to fill out the OAuth token table. So then we would have a YouTube OAuth tokens table with a YouTube ID in here. So make a YouTube OAuth tokens table with a YouTube ID. Just like Twitch OAuth tokens. And then finally, we get to this code, and where it says you get your credentials, we store those in the database. So I think that's the totality of what I need to do here. Let's finish reading through this code and see if there's anything else. Update credentials is fired when the access token expires. If you do not save it, any subsequent request will fail. Yep, so it's the same general thing. And then also call cache credentials. Interesting. So this will save it to disk somewhere. Yeah, interesting. I wonder what this is caching. The transformed player instance. What does that mean? I guess we could search for cache. Oh, it's probably going to come up with a lot of stuff. Well, maybe we can just start with what methods they have in cache. Temp directory, create cache, get, and set. So yeah, where are these things called? Set is called source utils cache. I guess we want to see where this one's called. Sets versions and stuff. No, this is just an arbitrary set. It doesn't know that this is from the cache. Talking about how you can do the video player through that package too, but it uses the same backend to store. Okay, wait, let me think about this. When do I need the tokens? I guess at sign in time, wherein I would pull it from the database. I guess all I'm trying to consider is, do I want this line here, cache credentials? I don't think I do. I don't think this in particular is going to help me too much. And I'm surprised this isn't automatic. What does this do? Oh, you're saying this is if I didn't want to use the data, or if, yeah, if I didn't want to use the database? Cache, just encode it. Yeah, interesting. Okay, attempt to sign in, test the credentials. If they're invalid, the sign-in flow will start again. So get channel invalid credentials. Sign into YouTube using the YouTube TV auth flow and stores to wherever you want. Recommended way. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, I see. And then sign in with the access token and refresh token and it expires. Test the credentials. Yeah. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Oh, has live streams. Interesting. Results are paginated 30 per page and sorted by date descending. Just take the first 5 or so, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. Yeah. All right. So again, thank you, Casey, for doing this. Hey, Fatootie. Hey, Freak. A lot of work because we have all these database things that I'm gonna have to do as well. All right. Let's close out of all this other stuff. All right, we can't do that anymore. Send a message. Need OAuth details. So database changes. All this stuff. Then modify Casey's code to save to the database and read from it, and then run through the flow myself and make sure not to show this on stream. Although if I do, I guess I just go revoke the token. So is this, yeah, I need OAuth details for this because the API doesn't support just using the API key. Let's write that down in here. Did I ever write this anywhere? OAuth. If you ever need a client ID or secret, comes from that. Yeah, so sending messages. Maybe that should go in the getting started section. If you want to send messages, you need to go through the... Oh, microdosing. Thanks for resubbing. Appreciate you too. And not just for the subscriptions. You need to go through the OAuth flow. Since you can't send messages with just an API key, it wouldn't know which name, profile, picture, etc. to use. Okay, so that's done. Probably need a table for OAuth tokens. Yup. Need to save creds in the database. Yup. And I think this example is already subsumed by what Casey wrote. There's auth pending, auth, and update credentials. Auth pending, I know I saw, there it is. Auth, yep. And then update credentials, yep, all that's there. Cool, so we can delete this too. All right. Hey, DeMonkey. I have never seen this written out. I wonder how you would pronounce that. Because normally Senor does not have an I in it. If the 8-digit sign-in code gets leaked and someone signs in first, the bot will just sign in as someone else. So that's the worst case. But your account won't get leaked unless you cancel out the creds. But I wrote warnings for that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, thanks for doing that, Casey. And I did give you the point which bumped you up to rank 4, I believe. Yeah, look at that. You share the prestigious number 4 with only 2 other people. Very prestigious. Okay, let's go make some new database tables. Actually, let's start by getting everything set up. So abbot package, database, cat package, pm build. No, not build. That's not what I want. I want watch. Okay, good. Now abbot package. We're doing this for YouTube, so we don't actually need the website running. We just need bots. So we're going to start this. Actually, we don't want to start this yet. Yeah, and then code abbot start that. Oh, I already had this open. Nice. Okay, I want this diff open still. I think that'll be helpful. But we're going to go do database stuff for now. Oh, did that not work? All right, what did we add? We added u2.js, good. And I've got this code that I'm eventually going to delete. Until we delete it, we need to go make a migration. Yeah. When yours get backfilled. I have the old top whatever 200 that Fatuti said I should make a gist out of and was very snarky about. I don't remember where you were on that, but I know for sure it wasn't 4 trillion points. Do I still have that somewhere? No, I don't know. I could find it. And there it is. Yeah. All right, so let's see where you were. Banana. You were number 127. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And now where are you in the new point system? Oh, not even ranked. Pathetic. Hey, don't call me out on stream. Oh, yeah. When did my points get backfilled? But don't respond to me or say anything. Oh, yeah, that's healthy. All right, so yeah, migrations. Switch to the database directory. Code abbot package database. Then create a migration. This is going to be YouTube OAuth. What's that saying? If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's you, banana. You're gonna turn into Bananas Foster if you keep this up. So back up the database. Let's do that. Right, contents and migration file, YouTube OAuth. All right, there's quite a lot to this. I wrote it all out at least. Am I being threatened? What's that other saying? That's not a threat, that's a promise. This streamer is threatening me publicly. Okay, make user correlation have a YouTube ID. All right, we got to add a row to a table and act like I'm not threatening anybody. If you just sound casual enough, people will believe it. So where do we do this? Wayne's profile picture. Profile picture is a good case. Add column. I said row. I meant column. But this is a new one altogether, so this is not what I want. Where's the report button? Are you concerned that giving YouTube users more access will dilute the overall stream intelligence? So you're saying Twitch people are smarter than YouTube people? Oh yeah, sorry, I misspoke. Intelligence? These people are too intelligent for me. I can't keep up. Add constraint. Do I ever have add column? It's probably the same general way. Do I seriously not have anything that does this? Create table, alter table. Alter table to drop constraint. Create, insert. Oh man, I never do this. Okay, fine. I was hoping to just copy paste something. My God, there's a lot of quotes. Where's the bottom of this? Yeah, no, I never do it. Okay, fine. Well, let's copy paste this. Go to YouTube OAuth and hope that we do this correctly. So modify user correlation, add column, YouTube ID. Now, where did Twitch ID come from in user correlation? Oh, we need a unique constraint for that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can we make it unique as we create it? I search for the word unique, what shows up? Twitch OAuth tokens. This is alter. Ugh. I never do this. Yeah, I never do this. All right, well, I guess let's do this too. The user correlation is going to have a user correlation YouTube ID unique, and it's YouTube ID. What even is this? This is not how you do add column. I mean, clear. Add column. There's primary key. We could maybe set that a column is unique this way. I don't know. Well, anyway, we do it this way. But let's try it like this and see what happens. Yeah. So this is YouTube ID and it's text. Is there a way to say column unique? Oh, there is. And that's it? Well, well, well. Would you look at that? Okay, so modify user correlation to have a YouTube ID is now done, I believe. But we need to be able to drop this column in the down function. So is there a drop column or remove column? Drop column, YouTube ID. Easy peasy. All right, let's go test this out. It's all working wonderfully. How do we run this? Migrate. All right, we're going to run this with latest. Now we go into the database and we describe user correlation. And we have a YouTube ID and it should be unique. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to undo it. Down. It worked. And we describe this and we don't have a YouTube ID. Perfect. Okay, I wrote that correctly. Wow, I'm so proud of myself. I copy pasted code. All right, so alter table. Do we have any of these? I want, yeah, a bunch of just quick examples of this stuff. So let's put this in the quick examples section. Um, adding or removing columns in a migration. Thanks, Sam. All right, close out of that stuff. Don't need this. And then this is TypeScript. That's it. Is it just TS for this? Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, let me tab in the whole thing. Nice, 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 nice. Yeah. That wasn't really a command, Sam. That was something that would read over every message and search for a substring, and I don't have that functionality in my bot yet. It is a feature that I have written down, but I don't know when I'm going to do it. You don't want to know about the stream? Just what he actually did yesterday? I mean, yesterday was a day off, so I didn't do stream stuff. But if you mean Friday was the beginning of the YouTube chat API stuff. And if I had to say what the conclusions were from that stream or what the output was from that stream, it was mostly figuring out how the API works, which was not the most straightforward thing. And you would expect it to be because it's an API. And then figuring out that I don't want to use the API directly. And I guess testing some things out and just kind of paving the way for the future. What features am I building for YouTube using their API? Just curious if creating streams from a website on YouTube is on my to-do list. Nothing as intense as that, Minkler. All I'm doing is getting it so that when you type something like today on YouTube, it'll return whatever the results of the command are. Just got a Lily 58 to replace my corn. Nice. What didn't you like about the corn? Because if you had a 6-column corn, the Lily 58 is not too different from it. I guess the 6-column corn doesn't have the top row. So maybe you really wanted that top row. Also, if you put encoders here, best thing you can do. That's the one thing. Yeah, missed the top row for gaming. Okay, so you plan on using one keyboard for like everything. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I have a keyboard with an encoder on it. This knob at the top, and you can press it in too. And that's just for volume and pause play. Love it. Absolutely love it. I can do the same thing from this keyboard. You can see me turn the volume up and down, and I can hit pause play, but I have to use keys for that. Like some kind of loser caveman. All right, so I got this working. That's done now. Now make a YouTube names table with a YouTube ID and a name, just like Twitch names. This should be easier. Adam's very feisty today. I'm just feeling recharged, you know. I'm all set up to succeed. Who doesn't like that? All right, so Twitch names table is going to turn into username, but before we do anything else, we also need to drop command from here. Hey, Magic. Magic. All right, we're going to drop this. So we call this something different. I'm just going to replace this everywhere. YouTube names. All right, so this is going to have a YouTube ID. And it references the YouTube ID in the user correlation table that we just made. It has a name, has a created at, and it has an update at. Yep, sounds good. All right, done with 2 of these things. Now for the third one, then we can take a break. How do you make it through the day with those kinds of obstacles? I know I'm a hero. I don't know if I would game on the corn if I had an extra row and column. I think I still just want to use a regular keyboard. The problem I have with the regular keyboard that I have is all the switches are broken. So the amount it double and triple types letters is so obnoxious. And I think I just got a bad batch of switches, and I don't really feel like fixing it because the games that I play, imagine if you're playing a first-person shooter, you don't tap W and expect it to work for 1 frame. You typically hold it down. So if it triple presses W, it doesn't really make a difference. But when you're typing something like "what's up" and it comes out as "what's up," then yeah, that's not fun. Hey, Primogen, thanks for the raid. Are we trying to run a command? Anyway, welcome in everybody, and good to see you, Primogen. I haven't been streaming for too long this time around. I think when Prime first started, I was streaming way back when, but then I went and worked for Google. I hear you're coming back to streaming as a full-time thing, maybe? But anyway, welcome in. What we're doing today here is I started streaming to YouTube because Twitch finally allowed it. Rude, lol. Twitch finally allowed simulcasting, but the problem is I don't have my bot working on YouTube. I only have it working on Twitch. So see this, what is that keyboard? If you were to type this command, you would see what the keyboard is. Now also check this out, watch this. Check out the keyboard command. Is it gonna work? Nice. Okay, so I also have voice controlled commands that I could say to check something out and it'll check it out. Why do you want to drop that column specifically when you down the database? So a migration file takes your database from one schema to another, and you want to be able to go back to the first one if there was a problem. Anyway, welcome in everybody. I hope you enjoy the stream. I am going to work on the YouTube stuff for today. We also have, I mean, this bot is something I've been working on now for a couple months. I also have the site that contains all the different commands that there are. So I've got a lot of commands. These are all things I've accrued over years. And as of pretty recently, it keeps track of points that people earn in chat. These are just helpfulness points. They're not spendable on anything. They don't mean anything. And yet people are still vying for the top of this small leaderboard. What is the YouTube bot goals? What does it do? It does pretty much exactly what I just said here. Is it just responds to commands. So if you were to type something like the everything command here, it would respond on YouTube as well. Right now, if you do this, it's not going to do anything. There's just no bot listening over here. I want to gamble it. No, there's no gambling with points. Am I happy with the corn? Yeah. Oh yeah, I love the corn. I've been using this for, I don't know, maybe 2.5 years. Yeah. And I think it's great. I might do a video on this tomorrow, although I do have one in the keyboard command that I had shown. You mean you can roll back migrations? I need to tell my dev team about that. Yeah, generally this is what you want to do for any migration. So there's an up function, which installs your migration, essentially runs your migration. And then there's a down function, which undoes it. And so these should be mirrors of one another. Whatever you do in up, you should undo in down. And for a small project like this, imagine if you ran into an issue. Let's say, whatever, this table doesn't work the way you want it to. You're like, oh, I need to roll back. If you didn't have this written ahead of time and tested ahead of time, you would scramble on a production database to try to clean things up. Even if you took a backup, I mean, maybe you messed something up and then, yeah, who knows? It could just be a lot of chaos. So that's generally why you should do this. So that code is specifically for that migration. Yes. And so if you look in this folder, if I just say reveal in Finder here, you'll see all of the migrations that I have the same thing. So if I open up this one, for example, so here we actually add a bunch of things. We add a unique constraint. Just this is something you then need to undo. So at the bottom of this, we keep track of all the unique constraints we added, go through every one of them and drop that constraint. So same general thing. Got YouTube videos to follow along. I have all of the VODs listed online. If you go to Twitch, I've got the last 60 days worth of them, but then I put them all on YouTube in public playlists of unlisted videos because I don't want them polluting the channel. So if you want to see any streams from even back in 2020 or something like that, I have another channel from like way back when I was working on Botland. This has like 5,000 hours worth of streams here. Twitch development VODs. Look at this, 800 videos. There's quite a lot here online. So yeah, I do try to archive all this if you ever want to look at it. Before I keep watching VS Code or NVim. I use VS Code. I don't have anything against any particular editors. I'm just used to using VS Code. I did a video recently on all the different extensions that I use, and there are a lot of them that people didn't know about. Things like toggler, you can turn the word true to false, or up to down, or stop to start, or end, or whatever it is you want. I use things like eval, so I can actually evaluate expressions directly in the editor. I know none of that's exclusive to VS Code. Just, yeah. And this isn't JavaScript development. It was originally a long time ago. Now it's TypeScript, which is JavaScript with types, and the with types is very important there. Down should be the opposite of up, and they are super useful. Yeah. All right. Just skimming chat really fast. Chaos? You mean like every other deployment we're doing? Look, there is a lot of sort of dev cleanliness, hygiene, sanity sort of things that if a company ignores, they'll get bitten by eventually and then say, yeah, we need to do this. Am I still at Google? No, I had stopped working there. If you take a look at this command I just typed in chat, it talks about why I stopped. I'm just messing with you. I'll keep watching and let the VS Code slide. Okay. Yeah. Is this ideal channel to kind of learn TypeScript? You can ask me questions. I'm happy to answer. I wouldn't say this is like a TypeScript tutorial channel or something. Yeah. The last question, but you're only dropping one of the columns you're adding in that migration. Why not the others? I'm not sure what you're talking about. So a lot of these scripts are public, or at least publicly viewable. So if you go to here, and then we type in migration. Why is this not working? Migration. So you can see all of the migration files I have. I'll link this in the chat. Visual Studio Community, I think, is a much heavier editor, right? It's the community edition of Visual Studio. VS Code was meant to be their light version of Visual Studio. So anyway, if you look at any of these, you should see the exact opposite of what you see over here. And if you ever don't see that, then I've just made a mistake. Now, what you might have seen is if I ever add a table, so here, for example, create table, add column, add column, add column, all you need to do is drop the table at the end, and it'll drop every column associated with the table. Why write them in TS instead of SQL? So I like keeping everything in just kind of one language. I also am using a query builder called Kuzulu for this, and it's been pretty nice. It's nice to have the type safety that I have here. It's nice to have the same library used on the client as I use for migrations. What is my channel about? So it's sort of hard to say. In December 4th, I started streaming again. I had previously been streaming from 2015 to 2020, and back then I was working on a game called Botland. This was an automated strategy game where you would write scripts for robots and they would do battle against each other. And you could either like visually code the scripts or you could write them in JavaScript. I know, LOL, JavaScript. That was what I was working on back then. Then toward the end of it, at the very end of that segment, 2020, I started doing something called Adam Learns. And that's the show you're kind of seeing now, although it's warped a lot. So it used to be I would learn things so that I could teach them. And that's what spawned this site, adamlearns.com. I made some courses. Only one of these is still paid. So if you want to check out it, the other ones I've done, they're just totally free. They're on YouTube as well. You don't even need to go sign up for the site. Anyway, that is what I'd sort of intended on doing now. But then I took a 3-year break to go work at Google. And when I got done with that, I thought, you know what? I'm going to take 1 year, 2024, and not worry about money and just do what I want. And that has led to a giant question mark. So I can't exactly say what's been going on here in a very succinct way. If you take a look at this, journal, I try to keep everything as public as I can. This is all the stuff I've worked on since December 4th. Things you'll see show up here a lot. Abbott, that's the bot that I'm working on. That's what you see responding on Twitch. And what will also, hopefully as of tomorrow or the next day or something, respond on YouTube as well, is what has the website for all the commands that you saw. So you can type something like cat in here and you can see the cat that we just adopted. Isn't she adorable? Anyway, that's one of the biggest things I've worked on. The other really big thing I've worked on quite a lot is Jump Royale. This is a game that we play on breaks that I made specifically for breaks. And so you'll see that pretty soon because I try to take breaks every hour and I stopped this break from happening just so that I could respond to the raid and everything. But the stream will be going on for like 4 hours. The other thing you'll see a lot of in here is mentoring. I've been doing one-on-one mentoring and you'll see one of those sessions today if you stick around long enough. It'll be happening in about 2 hours. And so I really wanted to help people as much as I can. These are free sessions that I've set up. We have 3 people. And we've gone through 2 sessions with all of them, and we're starting to cover the 3rd sessions for the remaining people here. And then we're going to go through maybe a total of, let's say, like 8-ish sessions. And so 8 sessions last, 3/4 of a year. And then we'll follow up again with some of those people after maybe about a year or so. Do you pull the messages? Yeah, that's the only way to do this. That's all their API lets you do. And so there's a library called YouTube.js, which will at least expose this as event-based messages, but there's no WebSocket you can connect to. What do I mentor? So this schedule is also a set of links to Adam Mentors, the YouTube channel that I have where I'm just dumping these videos. The mentoring is typically career mentoring. It's not so much like tech skill mentoring. And like I said, while this is free, I'm not accepting signups anymore. People signed up back in like 2020. How about foreign key constraints? How do you handle those in down migrations? So you would add the constraint in the migration and then just remove them the same way you would. Uh, what you might be wondering is how do you make sure you haven't invalidated a constraint in that case? And yeah, you might need to write some extra code in the migration. So for example, in one of my migrations, I have the quotes table that I add, and I also add all the data for the quotes because these need to populate the database. What kind of skill level is the mentoring for? Coincidentally, I think I would say that all the mentees are more on the senior side, but the kinds of things we talk about aren't purely technical. So a lot of it is like, hey, how do I move forward in my career? What should I work on? How do I deal with this fall? I don't know, some disadvantage that happened, some difficulty that they encountered. But then there would also be times where it's like, hey, let's just talk about what's going on in your life. And I don't want to say I'm a life coach. I want to help people however I can. So if we start talking about those sorts of things, it's like I'll chime in. When we start getting to mental health issues, that's where I'm like, look, I can still chime in, but I'm not an expert by any means. Did I try YMI.js? No, I didn't. Is it a good way to run the migration in a transaction? So if anything goes wrong, just roll back. Yes, I think migrations are typically done in transactions by default by any migration system that runs. And so that way you consider the entire up to be a transaction and the down to be a transaction. Oh, annoying because it's seeing another Adam's face. It's not that annoying. Do you have any course on system design? No, but I did technical interview prep a while ago. Do I have that somewhere? And that was all done publicly. And some of that had to do with system design stuff. Do I have a command on that? Okay, well, how about this? I'll share the notes command. And in my notes, you should be able to find where I covered system design. Where is this? Here, yeah. This note is very large. And this is when I was doing interview prep for Google. And I did end up getting the job. And I also applied to Amazon and I got that job too, although I didn't accept that one. And so this has a ton of resources. I think this is really helpful. I think you would probably benefit from this note. So I'll share a direct link to that one if you want. I don't know if this is maybe a stupid question, but what database am I using? I'm using Postgres. Why do you write your own migration instead of letting an ORM handle them? So I don't use an ORM, and I just haven't used an ORM for this sort of thing before. If I were to use an ORM, I'd probably let them handle it. And so then the question is like, well, why not use an ORM? And I don't know. I don't have a compelling reason why not. It's just a decision I chose to make. A lot of what I think happens on a stream is people. By the way, this is said completely without judgment. A lot of people assume that if I'm doing something, it must have been an incredibly well-researched thing that was like the best decision. And a lot of times that's not the case. And if you think about it, like I'm just a person, I'm just an engineer. Sometimes you want to move forward and you've got three options and you research two of them and you pick the better of the two. Sometimes you had a gut feeling that one of them would be better. So this is one of those times where it's like, that's pretty much the not very compelling reason why I didn't go with an ORM. Yeah. Migration 1, 2, 3. So to down migration 1, you need to do 3, 2, 1. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You have to go in the opposite direction. And a lot of these things, so you might have seen in the command that I have over here, there's a down argument, there's a latest argument. You could also, I think, specify which migration you want to go down to. And in the database itself, if I just show you the tables here, we have Kuzulu migration. If I were to, I don't know why that didn't work. If I were to describe that, you'll see there's a name and a timestamp. That's actually not helpful. Let me do select star from. So here are all the migrations and when they ran. And so you can essentially, you can see the database evolve over time. This was mid-December. I wrote the foundational migration. And then I added quotes about a month later. And then a week after that, I added OAuth tokens for Twitch. And then I added unique command names and points and profile pictures. And now we're about to add the Twitch stuff. Excuse me. Any advice for junior or entry-level devs fighting AI for jobs? Can't get experience for higher levels. Feels like Catch 33. I've never heard Catch 33 before. Maybe that was a typo. It's hard for me to say exactly because I don't think the industry is in a great shape right now, even for more senior devs. I know some people who are looking for jobs, who have been looking for jobs for a little longer than normal. The more junior people do seem to be struggling a bit more. But we had the pandemic boon, and then we had this trough afterward. Lots of layoffs, lots of companies saying we overhired, or we learned that we can kind of squeeze more out of our employees, essentially. I mean, they didn't explicitly say that. So I don't know what to say other than this sort of generic keep at it and keep trying to write projects or something for your portfolio and applying places. There's really not much else you can do if you think about it, unless you want to start your own business. And for that, you typically need capital and time and maybe other human resources. If you run the entire migration in a single transaction, do you really need a down command? Won't it roll back automatically? So there are two ways you can look at migrations. One is setting up your initial database. And for that, yes, your initial database, you could just delete the entire database, and that's essentially your down migration. And the other is migrating, which is why they're called migrations, from one schema to another. And so if you think about it, why do you need to migrate? Well, requirements change, and also you build features incrementally. So if you, let's say we make this Twitch bot, and then all of a sudden a new service comes out called Kick, and we're like, well, Kick didn't even exist. How could we have written how could we have written code for it? How could we have accommodated its database schema it might need? So you're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's fine. I'll make a Kick migration, and that's where you start writing this thing. So that's where you can't just put everything in one transaction, because you already have a database when you've written the Twitch bot. Now Kick comes along, you need to write something new. You want to transition to just that, you write a migration. Hey Crows. Do you prefer to extend the stream class and implement the methods, handle back pressure, or just use event listeners and push? So it all depends on what we're doing here. I'm not sure if you're talking about something specific, but in general, I don't think it's a good idea to just keep like trying to force things through a system. I mean, back pressure usually implies that if you don't handle anything with this, then you'll eventually collapse your system. What's the difference between the dblib you're using versus an ORM? An ORM typically gives you types in your code directly. So let's say you have a user, you might have a user class, and that user class will know its own ID. And so when you want to save this to the database, you pretty much just say something like whatever user.save to db or something like that. And it knows how to put this into the database. And as you add new fields, it'll keep track of that. So I think ORM stands for object relational mapping, this being an object and the relational mapping being to your database. So it knows how to save this stuff and persist it. Whereas with just a query builder, you're saying you know how to do that stuff. So you might have a like persist to db function, which says something like db.insert into users, and then you do whatever the rest of the code that you have your values, and you do like this .id or something, whatever. Have I introduced a player cap for Jump Royale? No, I haven't, and we can try it out in just a sec. Nice meeting you too, Marshawn. Man, we tried to introduce database rollback scripts for Postgres. Developers spent about 1 year on this, and they were so garbage that management simply said we'll restore from AWS snapshots. Look, honestly, it's hard to say that any of this is wrong. Different things work for different companies, and there's always something that people don't really seem to consider, which is you're fighting a company culture. If you are a junior developer who's way better than all the senior developers, you're probably still not going to have an easy time convincing people to go do something. And if it turns out that you can't convince them and you can't just have unilateral control over a code base, then you fight things in the way you can, which is, okay, we have some not so great mitigation for this. We're going to restore from snapshots. It's better than nothing. It's not as good as a proper system, but you do what you can. Yes, you did miss a raid. It was from Primogen. I do appreciate it. I don't know if Prime is still here, but thank you again. Oh, cool. Yeah. And welcome in, everybody. Let me see. How do I convince my daughter's boyfriend to get out of computer science before second year in college? Are you worried about him not having a job? Just lost my job after working there for 3 years. Thought I'd get another job easily, but it's been 3 weeks. Haven't heard back. Yeah, this is, oh man, the amount that this kind of can rattle your foundation it's rough. Like, you can know that you're a good developer when you have a job and you have that security. Then all of a sudden you try applying and you're like, why aren't these people accepting me? Because you know how good you are. But enough people have tried manipulating the system, especially in tech, where now the interview process is super long. And how do they know they can trust you? And how do you prove your skills? And how many data structures and algorithms do you need to learn? What is a migration? A migration is just a script that takes you from point A to point B in the database. Maybe it adds data, maybe it changes the schema of those tables. So in my case, what I'm doing here, and I know I haven't actually shown any of this yet exactly, but we have a Twitch bot right now. I have a Twitch bot. I want a YouTube bot. In order for me to connect to YouTube, I need OAuth tokens. Those OAuth tokens need to be saved somewhere. For anyone who doesn't know what OAuth tokens are, you typically have an access token and a refresh token. And your access token is what you provide to the service. You give this to YouTube. YouTube gives you back a way of being able to run your code basically. So it says it'll authenticate every time and say, yeah, you are who you say you are. When this expires, you use your refresh token, you give this to YouTube, and it gives you back another access token. So these things need to be saved somewhere. Otherwise, how do you connect a second time? And especially the refresh token, how do you connect after your access token expires? And in order to save them, I need to save them to this database, and that's why we wrote a migration. So if I go to this YouTube thing, we've added a table to keep track of YouTube names. We need to add one to keep track of tokens. Then I need to actually store all the data. This is what's going to happen today. We're going to have a break soon, and then we're going to have about maybe like 1 more hour of coding, and then an hour of mentoring, and then an hour of lunch, and then probably 2 more hours of coding. So I try to be as structured as I can with how this stuff is working. Requirements can't change. We wrote perfect specs with hundreds of outsourced analytics hours. I'd love to hear someone say this seriously. Requirements can't change. I used to help run askadev.org. Ironically, I feel the need for some mentorship myself. I feel like there are gaps in my mental modes for programming in general. Hard to know which direction to head in. Would love any suggestions. Okay, so when it comes to JavaScript specifically, I have a lot of thoughts here, and I'm going to try to condense this down because I am trying to get to the point where I can actually take a break. One, I think JavaScript is essentially outdated now. I think JavaScript is the de facto language of browsers, and so we have to use it, but we don't have to write in it. So we can transpile from other languages to JavaScript. Now that's not explicitly your question, but if you want to stick to JavaScript, I'd say at least consider looking at TypeScript. Second, when it comes to what resources do you use to learn, there's a book I used a long time ago called JavaScript, The Good Parts. And I want to say the author was Douglas Crockman. I should just look this up instead of guessing. Oops, what happened to the JavaScript part of that? Douglas Crockford. Okay, excuse me. He had a car company in his name. So I thought this was really good, but this is going to teach you JavaScript sort of quickly. You're always going to need practice after that. So the more you can try applying your knowledge, I don't know what justjavascript.com covers, but it can't just be read about a language and then you know it. It's read about a language, try doing things, read more about it, try doing more things, learn from other people, get a job in that language, like those sorts of things. And that's what gives you the experience you need to actually succeed in a language like that. But yeah, not only that, like I said, the whole talk to people part, talk to your coworkers if they use it, talk to your friends who use it, go find people on a Discord server that use it and ask them questions and try to learn from them too. Go search code on GitHub. Am I actually home before bowl end? Yeah, I have not taken my first break yet, no. What kinds of interesting portfolio projects do you think are good for junior devs to try out? Honestly, anything you're motivated to do. So if you start a project and 3 days later you're like, ooh, I want to refactor the system and I want to do whatever else, it's like, okay, you're probably not moving forward to that project. The best projects are ones you can finish for your portfolio and ones that help you learn. So that's it. Just that they meet those, then I think you're good. I also have marked down notes in GitHub that's similar. Yeah, and I've been keeping lots and lots of notes over the years. Who was that? I can't read the thing. Funky Monkey, thanks for resubbing. And yeah, I think this is true with any code, not just database code. Time consuming, you might find a better way to do it. Wasn't 1K viewers normal 3 years ago? Not for me. I don't think I ever hit those sorts of levels naturally. I think it was like 300-ish 3 years ago. What did I use to build the notes website I shared? I used something called Starlight. If you take a look in the notes for Starlight, you will find this note, and this has all my instructions on how I got set up with this. I also had tried out Quartz for a bit, so I've got a note on that too. I try to keep notes on pretty much everything and try to keep them public if I can. I'm way behind in chat, so how about this? If I'm skipping over a message and you want me to read it, just send it again, I guess. Security and performance, basically added some configs to CDN. Any tips? I mean, what's depressing you about that? Is it that you're junior with 2 years of experience? Is it that you don't like the area you're working in? Because it's kind of hard to say like, oh, well, here's what I think is wrong with the situation, so now I know how to fix it. how do I do so much? I really don't do so much. I mean, again, if you look at the journal that I shared earlier, and you can type the journal command if you want to see, this is the last 3 months of development has been mostly like bot work, making a game, various just tests of segments on here, learning some different things. And to some extent, it's like I'm very happy with what I've done, but I still haven't exactly found my footing, and I wouldn't say it's way more than other people have done in that time. What's for lunch? My wife made some food last night. I'm gonna have leftovers. Becoming good programmers about building stuff and grinding over and over again. Is this true or am I talking nonsense? I think it's a combination of everything I was saying earlier. It is it is doing stuff, it's learning, it's talking to people, and then I would say being a good programmer is more than just those hard skills. There's soft skills of working with others, communicating, maybe managing people. And yeah, this keyboard is magic to a lot of people. I'll probably do a video tomorrow on it. A lot of people took for granted their jobs a few years ago. The industry was crazy, offering people with no experience 100K plus. Not sustainable. Unfortunately, good devs are feeling the consequences. See, there's an alternate timeline where this was sustainable, and I'm not going to spend too long talking about this, but imagine if the pandemic lasted for another 3 years. Then that kind of hiring actually would have been needed. So there was no way to predict the end, and you don't want other companies to get ahead of you by you saying like, no, the pandemic's going to stop in a few months, and other companies are hiring like crazy, and you're like, I'm just not going to get on that boat. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that. Typically encrypt, access, or refresh tokens and save in a database. The only tokens I'm saving right now are for my own users, so I'm not encrypting those. I I find you should always consider what are attack patterns. So if you were to encrypt tokens, that means that if someone got access to your database at rest, that they wouldn't be able to use the tokens. However, a couple things to consider. One, you can always revoke tokens, and two, or access to entire applications. And two, how do they get your database at rest? Do they also get your code? Because right now my database and code are on the same machine. So if they got my database, they could probably get the code. If they could get the code, can they get the environment variables I had? Can they get the encryption keys that I used? And at that point, the encryption wouldn't have mattered at all. Now, granted, I'm just, this is like hypothetical at this point, right? This is all running on a mini PC in my house. I guess someone could come over here and literally just take the mini PC, and that would probably be a problem. But like I said, I could revoke tokens and everything. Would you recommend learning to type on an ergonomic keyboard? Yeah, I think so, especially if you have hand pain. It's a good way of just kind of protecting yourself for the future. You're encrypting them before persisting. No, yeah, I'm not. Let me see. Yeah, Crockford, yeah. Crockman just felt wrong. A load of crock. I feel like ORMs make medium complexity things easy, hard complexity things impossible. Am I wrong? I haven't used ORMs enough to be able to comment on that. But it's probably correct about the making medium complexity things easy part at the very least. Can I link a ZMK keyboard? Yeah, sure. And hey, Primogen, yeah, I'm now, what, 3 minutes behind on chat? So, yeah, stream is going well. Thanks again for the raid. If you're in optimization, probably fine. Coders start up pushing out it just works code. Yeah. Rating Coppinger and me stumbling on this weekend. Hack stream. JS tomorrow. I'm giving a class of the slide deck code in JS and CSS. Nice. Yeah. Well, you don't have to necessarily like it. You're at least getting experience doing things you haven't done before, and your class is probably going to appreciate it. All right. Take care, Falcon. Let me see. Okay, where is the mini PC? Where exactly, latitude and longitude? All right, yeah. Can you link this on Discord? Because I'm about to take a break pretty soon. How can one become a senior dev? What skills are needed? I think of the process of going from junior to senior. I think of this as expanding in the same direction. So, for example, as a junior, you're taking on maybe a small project. So as a senior, you're taking on a big project, you know? You don't necessarily need to do different things. You don't need to manage people necessarily. You don't need to, oversee an organization. You can pretty much just do the stuff you're already doing, but better and more independently. I think those are the two key parts. Once you're senior, going to principal, going to VP, something like that, I think then you start doing different things. It's not just how do I code better or how do I make sure we're testing or something. It's how do I influence even more people? How do I make more money for the company? Yeah. My badge it says senior. You get a gold star sticker on your forehead. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna finally take my break. There is a game that we play on the break. This is something we made back in December called Jump Royale. And the way that this works is not right now, but once I've started it, you'll type this to join, and then you type J to jump in the game, and you type a number. And so negative numbers jump to the left, and positive numbers jump to the right. And that's all you need to know. You'll figure out the rest. It's pretty fun. So here's how we kick this off. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Okay, so you can join now. I'm gonna go take my break. I'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah, have fun. I won't be able to read chat during this time. All right, hey everyone. I'm just gonna block everybody who's on the bottom right of the screen. So did you all have fun? I think it's a little chaotic. It's certainly chaotic when there are that many people playing. Normally there's like 15 to 20 people playing the game, something like that. And then it's easier to follow where you are and everything. The other thing is subscribers get these cool particle effects and name colors, and it makes it easier to tell. Go back to break. Is this a record? I think when Kitboga had raided a while ago, there were even more people and it was even harder to see what was going on. Is the music based on the platforms? No, the music is something I wrote a long time ago for Botland. I just happened to reuse it because I didn't want to write new music for that. Yeah, mobile lag is not easy. I know the other thing too is now I'm using a site called Restream. So I stream to Restream and it streams to YouTube and to Twitch. So that extra hop is more latency. I want to eventually cut that out and get it back down to what the latency used to be. I just haven't had the time to do this stuff. There is so much work that I feel like the stream generates, and there is not a lot of time to do it. I try to stream for about 24 hours per week, and then I try to make YouTube videos on Tuesday. So there's, yeah, can't multi-stream through OBS. Not OBS directly, you need a plugin for that. And so I just need to set up the plugin. It's probably super easy, I just haven't done it yet. And I can't do it while I'm streaming. So it's always something where I'm like, okay, time to do it later. And then, you know, I try to not spend every minute working. So yeah, kind of tough. That was like the platforms would be different notes. No, that would be kind of cool, although it'd be pretty hard to make it sound good. You'd have to pick a scale like the pentatonic scale or something where at least the notes aren't going to be dissonant with one another, discordant with one another. Put me on the podium in third, but I didn't get third. I think that's because you used a revive, did you? Who was the raider? It was Primogen. Okay, so check this out. I have a voice command. Hands are not on the keyboard. Close the game. All right, so that's something we try to play every hour for breaks. It doesn't disqualify you, but it was probably a race condition. So what you probably saw is that you were put in a third place, like on the win screen, is my guess. So what time is it right now? It's 10:12. Okay, so here's what's probably gonna happen. Undo coding for an hour, and then maybe another break, and then at like 11:15, I want to do prep for mentoring. So I try to keep everything in very nice organized documents. So if we look at this document, this is session 3 for what we're going to cover today with Kyle. And I want to review session 2 to see what we had talked about. Have you checked StreamerBot? No, I haven't. I've written my own bot at this point, and I kind of want to use it for everything I do on stream, but who knows? Maybe I'll eventually try something else. Or maybe StreamerBot is like a restream sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah. I run this like a job. It's because it is his job. Yeah, it is. I'm a content creator now. I feel like lightning should strike in the background every time I say I'm a content creator. Wouldn't that just be great? Okay, so I need a YouTube OAuth tokens table. So let's go take what we had in the Twitch OAuth tokens table. And where did I make the migration for this? Here it is. Okay, so again, the task that we're doing here today, and I always try to keep the today command up to date. We are working on getting this bot to be available over YouTube. So we're going to go to YouTube OAuth, and we're going to make a new table like this. So this is just going to be called YouTube OAuth tokens. Good. And then we need to drop this table at the end. YouTube OAuth tokens. Okay, so we need your YouTube ID, which correlates to your YouTube ID in the other table. It allows 1 token per user, greatly simplifies things. Access, refresh, expires in, created at. So I think those are all the things we need for this. Where is that gist that I had? Is that expires in or expires at? I think it's expires in for Twitch for sure. But then for YouTube, I don't exactly remember. Let's search. Wait, whoops, that's not what I want. I want the gist. Where'd the gist go? Closed it. Okay, well, let's get this again. Yeah, it's this gist. All right, so refresh. It just expires on YouTube apparently, which implies to me that it expires at. Okay, yeah, take care, Standard Indian. What's the link to my complaints department? Dev null is where you're going to want to email. Dev null. It should be expires at. So then I wonder if I was wrong on the Twitch section here. Because I think if we look at, what's the library used? Twerple? I think it was expires at. Where's their auth stuff? Refreshing auth provider. I'm guessing on refresh has it. Access token. Yeah, here's it expires in. I wonder if that's a mistake. I don't know. It just says time when the access token expires in seconds from the obtainment date. No, so that is expires in. Yeah, that's correct. Very weird. Well, for YouTube, I guess it is expires at. So good call for sure. And I'll give you a point for that. Okay, is there anything else that needs to be different here? We have the YouTube ID. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, so now let's test the migration. I'm just going to do this manually for now. We're not going to write automated tests for this. So we only have these tables, and now I'm going to run the migration latest. And now we have a couple more tables. You see YouTube names and YouTube OAuth tokens, and nothing showed after users here. So there was no YouTube stuff. No, don't give points to other people. The RFC agrees with Twitch. Expires in. Huh, I wonder if it's named incorrectly on YouTube. Where is YouTube.js? Whoops. What am I doing? I'm just clicking random links. My goodness, what's the matter with me? All right, let's go find the name of this library. I think it was YouTube. Bot package YouTube. Yeah, YouTubeI.js. Because I guess for the inner tube thing, yeah, here. And then we go to its GitHub. We close out of all these other tabs. And we figure out where it is documented. I don't think I've seen this site before. Have I? Maybe I have. Where's their auth stuff? Is there a search? There's a search. OAuth. No, let's just search for refresh. What? They didn't find anything? OAuth? Auth? What am I looking at? Excuse me. Gives a date and a time when it expires at. Yeah. Search for a token. I don't even know if this is the right library. I think it is. Is this the one that had? No, this isn't right. Never mind. Yeah, that's why it's not right. Okay, you know what? This is why you just use Google for this stuff. Yeah, here it is. All right, that's why I hadn't seen that site, because it's a totally wrong library. So where is the documentation for this one? API. Yeah, so somewhere here we should have, I didn't mean to press that. Somewhere here we should have a token thing. Aw. It's somewhere under one of these expandos. Yeah. Although it's not even for this. Well, I guess we can search for refresh. There it was. OAuth refresh here. So what do they call this when it comes to expires? I guess I could just search for expires. Access tokens expiration date, which is usually 24 hours-ish. Well, it being a date does imply that it's an expires at, because I don't think they want you to add 2 dates. So yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, cool. So those are our tables. Now let's just describe the ones that we made. YouTube names. It has your YouTube ID and then the name that you have at the time. And then describe YouTube OAuth tokens. Has your YouTube ID, access, refresh, expires at. Okay, nice. Yeah. Pretty happy with that. So database changes are now done. Now we modify the code to save to the database and read from it. So there's one problem here. Oh man. And it's that, close out of these tabs too. It's that my bot is currently set up to just work with Twitch. So we should really separate out all the YouTube stuff that we have, which means doing things a little bit differently here and sharing this command table with everybody. How about we code this the fast way for now? First, just get this working. Eventually need to abstract out the command stuff as much as possible. Yeah. There should be something that tracks commands in memory. And then both the Twitch and YouTube bots should pull from it. All right, so yeah, now modify this to read from the database. This is where I guess we'll copy the gist. Got it. Okay, so we'll paste this in here and then compare active file with that. So here are the differences in the code. We end up taking the universal cache. I don't think I need to use that in the second style of code that we had here. This was make with built-in cache. Is there another one that makes this without this? Yes, so I don't think we need this. Now, what did utils do? Utils. Inner tube error. So we need utils, I guess, no matter what. Okay. New abstract base class. So eventually, yes. The way I want to do this at first is just get this working. And then I want to figure out how we change the code around. So what we should be able to do is I should be able to copy this code and get to the point where I can send a message on YouTube from my bot. But I don't think there's a concept of a bot on YouTube. It's just another user account. So I think I need to maybe make a bot. Is it weird at all to see the streamer themselves responding to messages? Like if you type today and you see Adam learns, say something like, today Adam is working on X. I think that's probably a little weird because I write all my commands in third person like the bot is talking about me. But that's at least something easy enough to do. We could just make a new account at some point and then make it a moderator in the channel, I guess. Doesn't even really need to be a moderator. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. Okay, so let's get utils from this thing. So this is going to be a giant mess for right now, and I know that. We're intentionally moving forward with it being a giant mess for now. Oh, we're gonna clean it up. I'm gonna do that before you even commit. So this method is what I want. Yeah. Just use the broadcaster's account. I think as long as the bot is a moderator, I think it should be fine. It should be clear that it's not just some random person responding to commands. Although I think YouTube is pretty strict about who can type links into chat. Like if I'm on my personal account right now, so if I type something like Discord in here, did that even get shared with people? It's not clickable. Maybe that's how it gets shared. And I think if I'm the broadcaster and I share a link, I think it becomes clickable. Yeah. So maybe we write this eventually. Maybe make a new account like Adam Learns Bot on YouTube and make it a moderator. Something like that. Because otherwise it'll just be slightly less clear. All right, so we paste in this method. Now init YouTube sign in with custom storage. So make a new inner tube. I'm pretty sure we're making this somewhere else. Inner tube is what they call their internal API. Yeah, and we don't need the original code anymore, right? Where's the diff? YouTube ID, get channel. Okay, this is if I wanted to do things slightly differently here and then go through each of these and find the live stream ID. If video is video.is, what is that? No definition found for is. I'm not even sure. No, I have no definitions found for any of this stuff. Let's just type video.is and then go to this. What is this? Check if the node is of the given type. Oh, interesting. Okay. Hey, Jessa. One of the many people who's adopted the note-taking approach to organize my thoughts and tasks. I try to be concise when I create the note. However, I still make the mistake of, oh, future me will definitely know the context of this note. Is that something you ever do? I litter my notes with reference links as much as I can. So here you see a reference link. Here you see a reference link. And I make it easy to type these links. So for example, if I'm in a Google Doc, let's say I have this link on my clipboard, this gist. I can press hyper R and it'll type out the word reference. Assuming I actually pressed the keys. I probably didn't. Let me try that again. It'll type out the word reference and then paste in the link for me. And if I'm in Markdown, I have the mref expansion that'll do the same thing. Type out the word reference with Markdown and then put the link in parentheses. So this makes it way easier for me to keep track of that context in the future. And I suggest doing something like that at least, putting in reference links, because you might not remember the context even with the reference link. And that's when you would just click the link and be like, what was I thinking here? Oh, that's what I was thinking. And if it's still not enough, well, hey, at least you had something, right? Your notes won't always be perfect. Okay, so there are some ways I can do this differently, but I would do this up here. Yeah, so we should copy that in. Right, and then this is a this dot inner tube instead of a local one. Although I guess it, let me take a look. Yeah, yeah. All right, sorry, just getting my bearings here. This will be probably slightly more followable when I stop navigating all over the place. So I want to do everything we have here and then change around some of this code. This is already saved in a gist, so I probably don't need this as long as I still have my to-do comments, which it looks like I do. Yeah. Okay, so let's paste this here. And then the only other thing I need is the channel ID. And the channel ID for now, this I'm not even saving anywhere, but I will eventually. So the channel ID for now, oh wait, I am saving it somewhere? No, I'm not. Okay, fine. We do need to save this because it's going to be used in the other method that I have. Okay. Like I said, we're intentionally cutting corners here. Not definitely a sign in the constructor. Yeah, we're going to ignore that for now too. Great approach. Going to endeavor to add those references. Yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah. And in March, I want to make my organization course that I do. I don't know if there will be time to do it entirely in March, but my wife will be traveling for a lot of March, so I'll be here alone with nothing to do but organize my thoughts about an organization course. EJ, thanks for resubbing. Just here to bully the YouTube chatters. Please no bully. Yeah. Thanks for the 4 years in 1 month. Okay, so go to data verification URL, unsafe member access on an any value. How is this happening? Because data is any? Because what auth pending doesn't know that this is an OAuth pending event listener? Wait. Handler. That means we need to find out what data is over here. It's an OAuth auth pending data. How fun. Does that work? Now it should have verification URL, but it doesn't. Huh, what is this? Oh, it's just literally the any type? Are you kidding me? What's the point of defining a type if it's going to be the any type? Oh, man. So I guess we go back to the handler on this and we see where they define this stuff. What I have in mind for pricing, it's going to be my first premium course, so probably somewhere in the range of like 50 to 60 US dollars. I've been planning this course for years and I have a note covering like everything I want to talk about. And it's of course about like notes, but it's also about things like calendars, meetings, maybe file system stuff, reminders. I don't know, just a whole bunch of different things I want to talk about in there. Pretty much any tip I've ever felt like I've gained in my time as a professional. Oh, I see what you're saying. This link isn't even visible. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. I don't think it's a problem because if I made myself a moderator, I'm assuming it would show up then. So I think moderators have the permission to send this stuff. Hey, Vipub. Is there a way to check where we placed in the last game? Trying to figure out if it made me a winner or not. No, there isn't. If your character wasn't bigger than normal, then you probably weren't made a winner. Like I said, I think I know what happened. I think it was just you revived at like the very last second and there can only be one third place. So it puts you on top of third place. Yeah. Hey, Rami, can you try typing my Discord link? Can you just, I mean, you can't see the message, I guess, but can you try typing the Discord link in there? Because if it works for you, then it'll work for the bot. I guess there's no way for me to know. Okay, yeah. There was no way for me to know if it wouldn't work because I wouldn't see a message, but we do see a message, so clearly it works. Yeah. Okay. I think that's what we'll probably do then. And until then, we'll have it respond as me, the broadcaster. Okay, so where do we call this auth pending? Because I want to see how we know what this has on it. On auth pending. They must send it somewhere. Where do they send it? Emit response data. Response.json. Oh, this just comes from what, YouTube? Oh, auth device. Yeah, YouTube base URL. Ooh, so this literally could be anything. So yeah, the any type is correct. Okay, I guess we just write that down over here. Note, data can contain anything since it just comes from YouTube. Yeah. Oh, well. All right, so credentials. The important part, we're going to get these credentials and we're going to try to say it. And I'm guessing these are not typed also. They are typed as credentials. Do credentials? Oh, nice. Credentials have everything I want. Client ID and client secret. Now, I don't store that. Do I need that? I probably need that. I need that for sending a chat message, right? Does YouTube have API docs? They have API docs, yeah. And so this library is a wrapper around that API, or actually, it's partially a wrapper around that API, but then there's also an internal API that they don't have documentation for. I'm not, okay, so the shade isn't to YouTube, and it's like hardly shade in this case. This is a wrapper library that happens to be just returning whatever YouTube gives us. And so that's fair. YouTube might change what they give us, and this library is making no guarantees that there's anything in that type that gets returned. So yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, it's less than ideal, but it's fine. What was I just asking myself? It was how I'm going to send a chat message. So I think I know for sure this library can do it. And we looked at some code. Did I save that somewhere? Send a message. How do we send a message? So let's go figure that out. I think there was a send message thing, and I think it took client ID and secret. API methods. I'm never going to find this, am I? Well, they have an examples thing. Let's just look at that. Live chat. Send message. Here it is. And what does this take in? Just takes in text. But that means I must have had to construct this thing with auth. The index.ts. I don't think this is going to have it. Oh, wow. Not even found because it's not called index.ts. I should oh, it is called index.ts. Why does this not work? Oh, because there's an apostrophe period in it? Okay, I should probably submit a PR about that. Submit PR for this. Actually, where's the non-canonical link of this? How do you get a non-canonical link? Do I just delete this? Well, I have no idea what's going on. Oh, here. We can just go back to main. Ah. Does this link work? No, this link still does not work. Okay, so submit a PR for this page. The index.ts link at the bottom contains an apostrophe or something. Yeah, there we go. Client ID and client secret are the GCP project. They're assumed the YouTube TV OAuth ones if you're doing it this way. So saving them is optional. Doesn't need more than that because you're signing in. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you, Casey. Run. Oh, no, Rami, I don't use you run for testing YouTube stuff. Don't worry about that. It was just that one test as long as you were already typing. And thank you. Okay, so all we need to save then is the stuff that we know we have in the database, but we also need the user ID, or else we can't know who we're signing in as. How do I want to get that to work? Because right now we just have I guess we don't need a name. But then what was the point of me saving a name? I'm debating on how I want to do this. Yeah, I guess I'll just write a note for later, and we'll again keep this for. We'll stay in cutting corners mode. So I'm not actually fetching the user's name from YouTube just yet, which means I'm not using the YouTube names table at all. I should consider whether I want to fetch the name or delete the table. I don't like having unused tables that are just planned for later, unless I know for sure I'm going to use them, which you can never really totally know. So I'll figure that part out later. So then let's think, how would I do this? I guess in bot database, which would need to funnel itself through storage layer. We need a save OAuth token. There's save Twitch token. How does this work? Ensure that the Twitch user exists with their name. Oh, so that we can get their ID. I'll need to do this, but just not with a name. And then insert or update token. How does this work? Insert into Twitch OAuth tokens and on conflict do this. Yeah. Yeah, this sounds pretty reasonable, except for the table names are going to change a little bit. And then what do I do? Ensure Twitch user exists. Where else is this? Save Twitch token. Then what do we do? Delete any scopes for this token. This stuff I'm not going to do. And then if it's the primary bot user, then insert into the config that that's their user ID. How fun. I need pretty much all of this same stuff. Okay. I see it's the API that's not supposed to be used externally. Isn't that against their terms of service to use that API? I don't know if it, yeah, I don't know. I should definitely look into that, because that would be another thing I would need to consider, which is, am I even allowed to do this? And I wonder if it's going to be clear from their terms of service text that they have. Is it C++? This is TypeScript. What happens if a Twitch user gets banned? The user does not exist anymore. Banning and deleting the user are two different things. And in this case, the only things that I'm really using are, I'm saving a Twitch ID and a Twitch name. And it's only in certain cases. I think it's only when I gift points. So if someone ever wanted me to delete data from this database for their user, they could always just ask me to delete it. There's nothing that says you need to have an automated way of handling these requests, I think. But also, even if there is, it's like the impact of this database that I have is so low. It's not like I'm saving all of your chat messages or something or making it publicly available. Sorry if I'm repeating. Can anyone give me a quick overview of Adam's building? Yeah, sure. I have a Twitch bot, and I want it to work on YouTube. And that bot, all I wanted to do at first is you type something like today or cat or keyboard or whatever, anything like that, and it should respond. How come an API is publicly available and not meant to be used externally? In this case, it's what does YouTube itself use? Because you still need users to be able to log in, or not log in, be guests on YouTube and see things. And I mean, they can decide whatever they want, right? There could be an undocumented internal API that they say you just shouldn't be hitting this at all, I guess. Look into whether using YouTube i.js is even allowed. Let's also copy the link to the repo there, so I don't need to struggle to find this again. Yeah. Does it use OAuth code grant or implicit? I'm not sure what they do for that. Yeah. Redeemed around 5 seconds. Legit fell at 10 seconds. It looks like Redeem Revive ran after they were placed on the podium. Yeah. Yeah. The ignoring revives is actually an issue. I wanted to make it so you can't revive in the last like 30 seconds of the game. Oh, you found it already? You must not use undocumented APIs without express permission. You must access data from YouTube API services only according to the means stipulated in the authorized document. Well, I guess we should ditch everything I'm doing then. It's pretty clear you're not allowed to use this. Yeah, that's a very good point. So let's give you a point and you a point. All right. And then let's back out of everything I'm doing here. I guess we're gonna need to code all this myself, which actually kind of makes me wonder, is this even worth it at this point? Like, this is the toughest question to answer. Okay, I can think of something else we could maybe do. Nightbot exists, right? Maybe I have Nightbot in my YouTube channel. Aim, thanks for resubbing. Just pin the bot website on YouTube and call it a day. I think getting Nightbot in the channel might be good enough. Or yeah, streamer.bot or something, I don't know. Is it even worth it? It's something we all ask about an hour into the project. Well, at this point, I'm like 8 hours in or 9 hours in because I started this on Friday. Nightbot YouTube. Chatbot that helps you manage your YouTube and Twitch. Oh, but it won't have the same database. Oh my God. I could detect maybe everything that starts with an exclamation mark and link it to my site. Oh man. Hey, Kaiman. All right, well, we have a couple of options. Option number one, ignore the TOS and continue. I am not comfortable with this. Option number two is use an off-the-shelf bot like Nightbot or what, streamer.bot. Option number three is write all of this myself anyway. And option number four would be find a new library that uses the official API. Yeah, I don't think people would probably have action taken against them, but that's never been a reason that kind of convinces me to do something. And I agree that you said there was a gray area from the beginning, and I probably should have just explicitly looked it up and checked, is this doable? Could ask them for permission. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Option number 5, ask for permission. I wonder how they even allow for that. Where's that page again? Chrome just froze. What is going on? Why is this like everything is frozen right now? Give me a sec. This does happen with Chrome every once in a while, not really with anything else. All right, where was that link that Yo shared here? Okay. And then Nightbot has an API. I mean, I don't know if I want to even use Nightbot API. Let me copy that anyway, though. Option 5, write a new library. I mean, that's option 3, essentially. Are you hitting any undocumented APIs? Does the mere usage of that library? I think the library is hitting undocumented APIs. Is it not possible to use something like Scrappy and Selenium to read the chat div and look for special keywords? To be honest, that's probably against the terms of service as well. I'm guessing if they mention scraping anywhere here, you and your API clients must not encourage, enable, or require others to directly or indirectly. Wow, they really make sure you can't do this. Scrape YouTube applications or Google applications, or obtain scraped data or content. Yeah. Could you not use the lib and play innocent if it's brought up with this video existing? I would have needed to look at chat, close my eyes and be like, I'm sorry, I can't see anything, chat. Are you saying anything about the terms of service? And then continue to use it. Delete the bot. Destroy the evidence, everybody. That's legal. Oh man. No, thank you for the bits. All right, let's go back to what the options are. I think this is probably the most reasonable. This is the most reasonable if I can get it to redirect to my site every time, at the very least. Then, I mean, maybe there's a library that uses the official API. YouTube API library TypeScript. Client libraries. I mean, they have their official one. Although, what do they say in their... Oh, wait. Oh, by the way, actually, the best one is this. Ask for permission. If they just say, yeah, you can do that, then that's fine. So where did that text go? It's highlighted. There it is. You must not use undocumented APIs without express permission. Access data. So how do I get permission? I'm guessing they don't have a thing on here. And if I know anything about Google, it's that I will never get routed to someone who will actually respond to this. YouTube's prior written permission. Yeah, I don't think they're going to respond to something like that. Like I just said, I think they're going to say some random guy on the internet wants to use our undocumented APIs. Just rubber stamp. Approved. Which library? YouTubei.js. It's this, or youtube.js, excuse me. I guess there's no I in it. I guess it was the other library, and I should delete the I wrote in my thing over here. The only way you get permission is if you come to them with an integration. Yeah. I don't even think it's worth reaching out, to be honest. I don't know what address. I don't know what address we would use, and I don't know why they would ever say yes. Like, hello, yes, I would like to cut a corner in my own coding. Is there a library that uses the official API? Client libraries. I mean, they have their own, but that's not really going to help me. Is it so bad to just write all this myself? I mean, they have guides for everything. I just love reading things that start with has been deprecated. Wow. What is YouTube doing? This is 9 months ago, too. Like, what's the point of a guide that just says this has been deprecated? There are 322 issues. Look at that. Oh, this is for the whole Google API. Oh, this is not just for YouTube. I see. I mean, it's still a problem, but it's, I guess, slightly less of a problem. There is no official library. How do other bots work? No, there's an official library. It's just for connecting to their sort of raw APIs and not any of the stuff you'd expect when you're using it. Well, maybe not none of the stuff you'd expect, but not all of the stuff you'd expect. The wrapper that someone made was at least using the internal API. In fact, did they say that on here? I'm not going down the feign ignorance route. I just want to see how they advertise this. A full featured wrapper around the InnerTube API. So InnerTube API against terms of service, question mark? Legality of distributing a bot that streams YouTube audio. Huh, that's weird. There aren't any obvious things here. InnerTube API, terms of service. Has not been used in project. YouTube legal team contacted us. What? What's this about? To whom it may concern, we became aware of your product or service being offered here. It appears to be in violation of the service terms. Well, they link like the whole terms. Wow. I guess they do go after people sometimes. InnerTube is the private API. Yeah. And that's what this is a wrapper around. I mean, do they write anything here about can you use it? Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Doing fine, just very busy with work in uni. I'm doing well. I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good. I was excited to work on this, and now we just came up to a roadblock. So, I mean, we've already written a lot of this, and to finish writing it myself might not be too bad, and that was originally what I planned on doing. I think I'm torn between options 2 and 3. And I guess the real question is probably like, how much do I want to customize this versus just have the product be end result? And right now, I just want commands on YouTube. So it's pretty simple. But let's say I wanted Jump Royale to work through YouTube. Then we pretty much have to go with option number 3. The code jam was great. I've got a video somewhere in the jam command or something like that. Yeah, check that out. One is not going to publish a wrapper library that you're not allowed to use and then state in the README that you're not allowed to use it. They might. You never know. Basically a full-on replacement front end of all of its interface. Yeah, and that's probably what attracted the attention. I get the argument, and I've heard this a bunch of times before, that like this thing is wrong, but nothing will ever happen. And lots of people will do this thing, whatever it is in this case. And it could mean anything, right? Simulcasting on Twitch and YouTube was not technically allowed before they changed the contracts, and people did it anyway. Did anything bad ever happen to them? I don't think so. Maybe the very, very top, like the highest streamers or something like that, maybe something happened to them. But even then, it was probably a slap on the wrist. I imagine they're generating a lot of revenue for Twitch. But okay, that's an example of this. Like bots that are against the terms of service, like people probably store chat logs. And at some point, I know there was a whole suite of tools that would make name changes in chat logs publicly visible to anybody who wanted them. And those all got shut down. And in that case, that wasn't an instance of nothing will ever happen. I guess something did happen. But for a long time, nothing happened. And in this case, are they ever going to look at my code and see, oh, he's using the internal API or something? No, probably not. Probably nothing will happen. And I recognize that, but I still want to do something that's on the level. So, okay, what is, not that this should steer all my decisions, but what do you vote for? Which do you think Adam should do? Use something like Nightbot. Well, use an existing bot or still write his own bot. This is all about YouTube, but I can't type very long options for these things. So our options were option 2, use something off the shelf, and option 3, write all this stuff myself. And I can be convinced either way. I'm not doing this with an idea in mind. I do want there to be some amount of development time that happens on stream. So it's okay if it turns out to be this. I think they won't care since you're not hitting 1 billion endpoints. You're only looking at your chat. Yeah. Like I said, I am pretty much certain that if I were to just use this anyway, then nothing bad would probably happen. Like 99% sure. And that's not a good enough reason though. Can you scrape the HTML? No, they expressly forbid that. And if I'm not going to use the API because they forbid that, then I'm not going to scrape HTML because they forbid that too. Does Adam need writing more of the bot? The wheel is right there. Yeah, right now I don't necessarily, but think about this. There's technically anything I do is for some product and also for content. And so no matter what, the content is still there and it's development. And I don't know how long this will take, to be honest. I imagine it'll probably tack on like 2 days of work to build my own thing. And maybe it won't even be that long. But chat has voted overwhelmingly for write my own bot, I guess. All developers must be working on something that has AI. Oh, I see. I think both Nightbot and StreamerBot are flexible enough in open source. Well, the other thing too is the flexibility. It's like if I were to use Nightbot, I would do the bare minimum. I would get my commands working, and that's that. They might have APIs, and I might be able to write my own thing, but I'm essentially taking a dependency on Nightbot, and I don't want to do that. What speaks against using their official API? You mean why not use their official API? It's just more unwieldy, that's all. But how much more unwieldy, I guess we're about to find out. Yeah. Oh, I don't even think it's fair to say this isn't great. I mean, how many times has it bitten you in the past? Because I can tell you I've been bitten a lot by the whole, what's the expression? The whole, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I've done the opposite of this plenty of times. I did it even, I think like 1 week ago. I asked a YouTuber if I could broadcast their video on my stream. They never responded. And as a result, I didn't broadcast their video. Do you know how many Twitch streamers probably do this? Very, very few. I imagine most people would just be like, I'm gonna watch this video and not ask for permission and not do anything. And that's fine. I'm not besmirching those people. I'm just saying I have generally lived my life with the opposite of this mentality. And I know it's bitten me many times, and I know that's why this expression exists. But I will just continue this way, I guess. And by the way, this doesn't mean I can't do what I wanted to do. It just means that I do it a different way that's above board, whatever the expression is, or I write it myself. So I guess we're going to go with write it myself. Thing with Google services is the breaking changes in deprecation and sunsetting. Yeah, and I at least know when I worked at Google, there was a push for changing that. And I don't know whether that's taken effect or been treated seriously, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, well, let's plan what the new route looks like. I had written some test somewhere, didn't I? To list out chat messages. Did I make it in my temp thing? Test YouTube? Yeah, main.js. What is this? Okay, this is literally just get my video ID and then get chat on it. No, this isn't even that. This is scrape the page. This is not allowed. Don't look at this code. You never saw that. Did I literally never write any code to do this? I know I got chat. Oh, I know what I did. I tested it right in the web page itself. Their API docs. Where are those API docs? I don't see it. It's one of these types of pages, but I guess we have to go over here somewhere. That one. Yeah, so if we, oh my goodness, how do you, it's gonna be annoying. All right, well, let's do it the way I did it before. YouTube chat API, and we'll find this page. Yes, this. Okay, so at the side of this page, which I know my head is gonna be covering, but they have an execute section. Try this method. And this is where I tested this out. So I never actually wrote any code to do this. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it's take a break time and then prep toward mentoring. Oh my God, this work is just going to span out of control, isn't it? Okay, so pivot, write my own YouTube APIs, or well, write my own YouTube library. So it should be able to read, it should be able to authenticate, read chat messages, and post chat messages. It's got to do actually slightly more than that, I guess. It's got to be able to find my current live stream and know when it ends. No, well, at least find my current live stream. It has to pull. That's the only thing their API can do. Yeah. This is... Yeah. Isn't there some pre-made library you can just import? If someone can find a pre-made library, so it had to be TypeScript and it has to only use the external API. If someone can find that, then yeah, for sure, I can use that. There's no problem with that. But I couldn't find anything quickly. YouTube, live stream, library, TypeScript. Maybe we search npms.io. YouTube live stream, YouTube scrapper. I'm guessing that's a scraper. I'm guessing that's not allowed. Get stream URL from live streaming channels. YouTube live streams with Node.js made easy. What even is this? Stream through Discord. Yeah, see, I just need chat stuff. Maybe there's a YouTube live chat. What is this? Can this send messages? Also, I wonder how they authenticate. They take in an ID and a key. What's this one? Wrapper for the YouTube API with typings. And when was this made? Years ago? It's another thing that worries me about this stuff. Like, has enough changed since then? I know we're still on V3. So ideally, this still works. Did a quick find search. Oh, you can link things in chat. I mean, I can also search for what you said. I don't know if you have the link, but if you have the link, you can share it. Doesn't look like it even has live streaming related stuff. Search for videos, YouTube comment channel, etc. Yeah, I need the live chat things. Try this maybe. Tube chat. Efficient, user-friendly library for chat integration. Okay, what are we looking at here? This was months ago. Very little activity. Chat connected, disconnected, messages, subs and stuff. What license is this? MIT license? Okay, I mean, at the very least, we could just take the code. What do we have here? Update video, checker live. Also, I got to make sure this only uses kosher APIs. V1 live chat. What? What? What is this image, I wonder? I want to go see what this is. Okay, it's this. Take care, Durdru. Someone recommended YMI. Do you really need an API? I try with bare endpoints and abstract and lib only if needed. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, if something exists that already does exactly what I want, I don't mind using it. And that's, I guess, what we're looking into right now. Although wait, Metal Storm? The Metal Storm? Is this the Metal Storm I know? How do I find out if it's that Metal Storm? This is their name in my chat, right? Yeah, it is you. It is you. The metal store. Are you the one who suggested this? Oh, did I try YMI.js? Okay, yeah, and you made the repo? Heavily influenced by how the awesome TMI.js. I did many years ago when I used to stream. So are you maintaining it? Will you maintain it for me? Can I just steal all your code? Okay, so yeah, for one, this doesn't have types, so there's that I need to consider. Two, I wonder how hard it would be for me to do something myself. The will you maintain it for me is a joke. I'm not being serious about that. I wouldn't ask someone to maintain a library just for me. Wait a second, lib client. Where is, yeah, index. Wait, what? What? How is this possible? How could everything fit into 180 lines of code? Huh. It's because of this. YouTube.live chat messages. Google APIs. They just use the YouTube one. Okay. You know what? I think we're going to use this as a foundation to build my own thing, I think. 10x dev, I guess. That's like 1,500 lines of code from an average person. All right, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. So let's write that down, and then I desperately need to take a break. All right, so I should be able to do this and base this. I guess we'll put this like this. Yeah, base this library on this code. What's wrong with the other YouTube library? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah, I'll paste this in here too. Did we get it ready? Yeah, from Primogen. Okay, I need to do some stuff. Okay, so break is gonna be first. For those of you who like Jump Royale, we'll play Jump Royale again. For those of you who didn't play, you just need to type join eventually, and then J, and then a number, and the numbers typically go from -90 to 90. And -90 is left, and +90 is right. And by the way, left and right are like all the way left and right. So if you want something that's not like straight into the ground, you want to do like a 70-degree angle or something. Oh yeah, the one I was using. Yeah, breaks terms of service. Yep. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. And then we're going to do mentoring prep and then the actual mentoring session. And then that'll be the end of the stream. And I'll go get lunch. And then I'll come back and do another like 2 hours of coding or something. So that's the plan. If you're interested in mentoring, definitely stick around. If not, you want to get going, you like the stream, consider following, consider joining Discord. We're going to do more community stuff. I'm gonna go race around and do all this stuff now. So is it jump time? Is that not going to work? Did I not get my voice? Is it jump time? Is everything breaking? What's going on? Is it not getting it? It just got time? All right, fine. Break. It's jump time. Smooth. I saw your final jump right as I got back. Patootie made it, Destruct made it up there, and then Smooth was the third person and just barely at the top of their jump happened to win. Wow. Well, good game. All right, so we're going to prep for mentoring now. Close the game. And is it not listening to me? Close the game. There. All right, yeah. So, mentoring prep. That's my best jump right now moment. Well, thank you for the bits. All right, so let's get this mentoring prep. Never have to jump again. Okay, let's refresh this. So, what I like to do before we do a new session, I like to look through my old notes and just make sure I am up to date on everything that happened. So, for those who don't know, this person's name is Kyle. Actually, let me show all the quick facts so that I can get everyone on board. They are a senior software engineer working in front end for a 50-ish person startup. They want to go from senior to staff in the next 5 years. And we talked about some growth areas and just general comments. We've had 2 general sessions so far. Abby. She's meowing over there. I was petting her on my break. All right, so I like to go through and see what we talked about last and what I want to talk about this time. So let's see, didn't go to the on-site. Yeah, I want to find out how are you feeling post on-site? Have things gotten better? Do you feel differently? Okay. All right. Yeah, so this was like in the middle of an on-site that Kyle wanted to go to, happened once a year, wasn't able to make it, felt bad about it. And then I think things started to look slightly up, and I don't fully recall. And so this is why I'm refreshing my memory. What's happened in the last 3 weeks? No more negative feedback or interactions. Tried to book one day to visit. They decided it wasn't worth it. Looking to pay for itself. Flights weren't available. Manager seemed bummed. Only had a remote friendship. Still be time to give input on these processes. Yeah, random question. I wonder, where does your manager live in relation to you? Like hundreds of miles away? Thousands? Is this a real case or what? What do you mean? Is this like a real mentee? Because yeah, all of the mentoring that I do is real. Like, I guess what's the opposite of that? You think they're paid actors or something? Because that would be pretty funny. Is there a reason you're still using Google Docs? I tend to use it for my real-time shared notes. I'm sorry, I don't have timestamps on YouTube, so I don't know when that was shared. Yeah, yeah. Beard is the real person. I mean, you'll see them soon. We're doing a video chat the way that this is all done. All right, ask how he feels about his manager. Says reactionary side wants more validation. Logically, though. Yeah, kind of want to talk about the need for validation in general. It's certainly not worth eradicating, but perhaps minimizing or outsourcing in some way. Okay, asked what things were inhibiting output. And when I listed out some stuff, agreed there'd be less opportunity to accomplish IC work. Wasn't concerned about it. Mentioned there would be sliding scale. Kyle mentioned he felt uncomfortable being directly compared to other ICs since his output is less due to leadership tasks. The manager asked what's contributing to this feeling. His manager said it makes sense, as it was worthwhile to do sprint point comparisons. Okay, yeah, manager definitely seems on board. Estimations don't all have the same scale. What does your manager mean about underestimating sprint tasks? Other leadership work is valuable. Yeah. Manager appreciates Kyle. For sure. Live in this world of less validation and still feel confident in your impact. Yeah, this is what I had starred for last time. And I think this is a very interesting point because I think a lot of people struggle with this. Imposter syndrome is a term you hear thrown around a lot in software development, and there's no clear-cut solution for it that works for everybody. And I think it's a lot of noticing your own accomplishments, some amount of validation from other people, feeling like you're meeting your goals, feeling like you're progressing. Yeah. Might have been some role playing. I see. Yeah. No. This is real mentoring. Yeah. All right. If you looked at your accomplishments from the outside, what do you think is valuable? Yeah. This was another kind of interesting part of this. Kyle has said that if he objectively evaluated his impact, he would think it's valuable. Yeah. There's a brag doc, no other major journaling. So when he feels secure, he thinks about it in terms of job security. When he feels anxious, he thinks about it in terms of how difficult it would be to replace him. Yeah. Okay, talking to manager. Seem to have reservations about establishing any meeting without the explicit purpose. Without explicit purpose. Yep. So this was Kyle wanted to talk to a staff, or I had suggested Kyle talk to a staff engineer to get more in tune with what that staff engineer does and improve Kyle's skill set. And the manager said only do that if there's a real reason for it. And there was at least one, the schema. So yeah, how did the schema meetings go with the staff engineer? Or have they not happened? Protective of the capacity. Yep. Totally reasonable. Said it makes sense. Isn't a lot of slack. First good topic, unifying core schemas. Yep. What are your goals from that meeting? Exposure. Yep. It sounds like Kyle respects this engineer, which I think is good. Always good to learn from people you respect. I feel like there's this power behind seeking out certain people and your relationship with them. So for example, if you're on the fence about should I buy a new phone, but you're leaning toward yes, you're going to call the friend who says, oh yeah, definitely you should, and not the friend who says, well, you're happy with your current one. You know, you sort of already bias things that way. And so when you reach out to people you respect, I think any learnings you would have had are amplified a bit because you already have gone through the whole, like, I trust this person, I respect them. Yeah. All right. Anything learned as a benefit? How much would you try to learn from the staff engineer given that they're constrained on time? Okay. What hasn't been set yet? So that, oh yeah. So this might not have happened by then, but when was this meeting that we had? This was January 22nd, and it is currently a month and 4 days later. So yeah, enough time has passed where I think some of this will have moved forward. And not even necessarily, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to have some things to talk about here. Okay, let's see. Bought some books but haven't started reading. Yeah, so how has the progress gone with the books? I want to ask, what have you celebrated? What are your successes? And I definitely want to make sure we get to this one. Really likes the format. Okay, and it suggested it to junior engineers. Hasn't heard back from them though. Read some of these books, reading works. Okay, sounds good. Company on site, unable to attend because of childcare situation. How much can you participate? Not sure yet. Wednesday's a Teams day. Just group up the remote only people. Okay. Smooth. Gonna ride that high the rest of the week. Oh yeah, Toastmasters. Have you tried out Toastmasters? All right, started a side project. Hasn't done a side project since starting at this company. Starts hacking a bit after his kids go to sleep. Yeah, how is the side project going? React Native. Yeah, hey, reformulate. Good at blocking out time, main goals. Just learning. Yeah. Okay, anything else here? Taking on less. He said he's been doing more planning before taking on tasks. Yeah, how are you feeling about sprint tasks? Too many, having to still doing prep for them. Keep an eye on whether this continues to work. Yep. Right, better position than he was at the time of session number 1. Talking to his manager, getting reassurance that his position is expected. Still feel some anxiety. All right, we're almost done with the me studying this stuff again because you can see meeting times here, and I think these go to 1:30, so we're at 1:22. So we got 8 minutes more to look through. Yeah, still feeling positively. Hopefully this external person is helping. I kind of want to ask this question too, which is, has your wife noticed any differences in your, like, I guess, work-related behaviors? Bump this stuff for next time. We're talking about a general timeline for staff. Can you identify an area for you to write a larger proposal? You mentioned wanting to check out grokking simplicity. Okay, these things are bumped. We ignored your bullet from last session. With high-level engineers you worked with, how do they work? Yeah. All right, and then doing a, actually I shouldn't have deleted that. And then doing a retrospective on projects that went well. Try leading meetings. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna copy some of this stuff. Hey, Clark, yeah. I'm doing well. I need to change that title, and I'm gonna do that in a second. Okay, I don't care so much about this question. And then these, note to self is now done. Okay, so I have a bunch of stuff that we could talk about. I guess the main starred questions I have, I want to cover these. So let's group these together. Yeah, good. All right, so those are all my questions. I think we can start doing the prep for the actual meeting now, which this part is mostly just getting things set up in OBS, having chat show on screen, etc. For those watching on YouTube, this is the first time that I'm actually streaming this on YouTube. I ignore all chat, whether on Twitch or on YouTube during that time, but I only show the Twitch chat in my video. So, I mean, you'll see this as I set up for this. Well, you won't totally see it, I guess, because I'm going to switch into studio mode over here. And that means that you won't see the things that I'm changing. All right, so switch to setting up for mentoring. I don't care about that. Click this, do that. I got that. Set mentoring scene. Yep. All right, and then I don't know what happened to the timer here. It just doesn't show up anymore. And I think I looked into this last time and it was like a color of the timer problem or something. I don't know what. Because it's definitely not showing on screen right now. Huh. Yeah, Paula. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I saw it flash for like a second. Oh well. All right, well, we won't have a timer, I guess. All right, so open Yada. Let's get that. So this is what shows Twitch chat. And like I said, it's just going to be Twitch chat. And by the way, this whole process takes maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. It shouldn't be too terribly long. And then we'll kick off the session. Okay, so Twitch chat is there. OBS, Chrome for Google Docs, left half of right monitor, hide the menus. Yeah, it's just this document that I care about. Okay, so let's get this doc showing. Cool. All right, what else do I have? Put Discord on left monitor so I don't leak anything. Good idea. All right, pop out the video call, need to do that. Read the last session, we did that. Hide the outline view. That is done. Set browser zoom to 125. Google Docs, yep, that's already done. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to ask chat about is the audio levels. It should be fine. And I just need to retitle my stream now. Okay, so let's go change this to one-on-one mentoring session. And I'm going to change the name to be the real name. Kyle session 3, delete TypeScript. Okie dokie, cool. And then edit the today command. Today is Monday, mentoring Kyle. This is their 3rd session. All right, cool. I think we're good. I think we're ready to start. I just didn't change the YouTube title. I think the YouTube title keeps whatever. I'll just go change it. I think it keeps whatever title you end the stream on. I'm logged in as the wrong person, aren't I? Oh my God, I have like a million YouTube accounts now. All right, there we go. Now edit this video and change it to the same thing that I had over here. Whoops, changed the wrong thing. Kyle, session number 3. Yeah, mentoring. I'll just see this for more information. Okay. Whew, well, that was a lot. Both of them should read it afterward. Yeah, that probably is a typo. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Gift you a point. There you go. And change the command. All right. So now I'm going to call up Kyle. I'm like 2 minutes early, but that should be fine. And all this stuff should be the way I want to show it. So let's switch to the scene. So now you should be able to see the mentoring scene that I'm seeing with all the blue background. Oh, hey, there's the timer. It actually does work. Wow. Okay, let me call up Kyle. And then, like I said, I'm going to read chat just to make sure that the audio levels are good. So please do let me know. And then, yeah. Discord video. Okie dokie. I can see you. Can you try talking?
Hello. Hello.
Hey. Okay, let me turn you up for myself. All right, so tell me, what's your favorite amusement park ride when you go to an amusement park?
Mm, roller coasters that don't spin
That
because
don't
I get
spin?
nauseous. Yeah, I hate the nausea aspect of roller coasters.
Okay. Can you play Sonic the Hedgehog games?
I have, and for sure.
Okay. And those don't bother you? All right, chat. How was the audio of that? Did it sound like we're roughly leveled the same general amount? Mr. Bones' Wild Ride. Audio's fine. Okay, cool. All right, then we are going to get started. So I like to do this kind of the same way every time, which is what do you want to start with? I know you've got some topics listed. I haven't even read them yet. So do you want to kick this off?
Sure. Let me actually bring that doc back up because I had it on my other monitor.
Yeah, and if you need me to
Um,
link it, let me know.
yeah, so uh I guess like work reprioritized a little bit. So like some of the stuff that you were talking about, that you have in your questions, I think might not have, like I haven't had a chance to meet with the staff engineer yet.
Hmm.
It's on our, like, he knows that I want to meet with him about it, but we just have had other stuff pushed in front of that. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's just been kind of like sick kids dealing with that,
I see.
you know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
by the way, that can like I talk a lot about cutting yourself slack and we talk about validation and everything. The sick kids part can inflate to fill all of your remaining time. So I'm guessing, have you had as much time to work on your side project, the React Native thing?
Oh no, no.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's pretty much 100% children other than work.
I see. Okay. Well, we can still talk about the work part of these things. Let me read through what you had here. Leaning into planning, research, triage, delegation. Okay. So that is what you're talking about then, right? The
Yep.
stuff. Okay, yeah. So why don't you tell me more about that? How has this stuff been going?
Yeah, so in my last one-on-one with my manager, he kind of said like, he said something to the effect of like, you're super valuable to me as like a um can't remember the phrasing exactly, but it was something to the effect of like, I know that you can run projects and I don't have the um like my manager was saying this, I don't have the ability to monitor the things like debt and make sure that the nitty-gritty is getting done, code quality, that kind of stuff. So like, so me being I'm switching back and forth between his 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 me and my me, but basically that he's going to rely on me for doing some of that stuff on the client code level, since he can't manage that stuff. So I've been trying to lean into that, and that's something we had talked about before, is like getting better at delegation, kind of like shifting some of my time from IC to um, you know, non-IC work, and I'm trying to lean into that, um, because the company post onsite, the company has been um, has a new focus on sharing on projects rather than everyone has their own project that they are solely responsible for and
Mm.
kind of like deliver it as fast as possible. So it's actually given us flexibility to like I can take care of some stuff that I know is debt. Um, I can delegate stuff to the other person that's on the project with me, that kind of stuff. So I've kind of been using that to feel better about doing less IC work.
Okay, yeah. Well, so let's talk about those high level tasks that you have, monitoring code quality, making sure there's no tech debt. Are you confident in your ability to do that sort of thing? Do you feel like there's a lot of growth there for you?
Yeah, I think I'm uh, good at that because I'm like a very avid notes taker. So like things because of my like ADHD past, I've developed good copes to deal with forgetting stuff, and so I'm really good at remembering stuff or like creating systems to remember stuff. So I think I'm a good person to handle that kind of work.
Okay, good. Yeah. And I want to talk about how this plays into validation. So your manager had said, "Hey, I'm pretty confident in what you're doing. There's no way I can handle all of my job and also look into the nitty-gritty of your job." And that's
Yeah.
reasonable. By the way, I wouldn't expect them to be able to do that. And otherwise, why did they want to make you more senior if they could do that still? So, um, they've expressed their confidence in you. You sound like you're confident in your ability to do this part that we've talked about so far. So, is this when you look at this stuff, when you see this happening, does this make you think we're on the path toward improving the anxiety, the self doubt?
I think so. I don't know if it's like I feel like I have less imposter syndrome about managing projects than I do about my code being the best code.
Okay.
So I think like that shift feels comfortable to me because it's shifting into something I'm like more confident in.
So let me ask you something. Let's say you never coded another line of code in your life, but you were still always an asset to your company. You appreciated the work you were doing. Would that really be a problem? I know we've talked about this, and I know you said you wanted to improve your code skills, but just let's say you never did.
Um, I I want to stay somewhat involved in IC just because like that's been my passion and my I get a lot of gratification from making stuff. So I
Yeah.
think I would love to be a force multiplier for people doing work and also like being able to keep track of everything. But I think I would be upset if I never got to code at all.
Okay, and I probably asked you this in session number one, but side project coding when your kids aren't sick doesn't make up for that.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's just right now, the only time I get to work for solid amounts of time is at work. So I think, at least for this point in my life,
Yeah.
holding on to that is important. I'm not sure in the future. I never felt like I wanted to go down the managerial track. I thought staff is kind of like a good mixture of like, uh, IC and non-IC work. That's how I
Does,
see it.
does this represent a change in your goals essentially? Because now that you sort of talk about this like this is a path I hadn't considered. You originally mentioned wanting to be staff. I assume staff exists in multiple forms. Usually it exists as an individual contributor and as a manager. And so are you saying that now while staff is still a goal, you're thinking more, excuse me, you're thinking more the manager route?
No, I think staff, like I'm just getting exposure to the parts of staff that are not IC work.
Okay, I see.
And I think I like that stuff as well. So like I kind of haven't had the opportunity to do this stuff before.
Okay. So you're saying some things that are interesting, and I'm maybe reading between the lines here a bit. Uh, you like the non-individual contributor parts of the job. You still want to be coding. If you were to get chunks of time available to you in your spare time, like you said, after you put the kids to bed, perhaps that could be sated, your desire to code, by doing this in your personal time. I'm not suggesting that you expand your work-life balance in that way. But what's interesting about this is our careers take us on paths that we don't always expect. And I think if you became a staff level manager and you were like, you know what, I'm happy with this. And the thing I had self doubt about, maybe your code quality or your own coding skills, those don't play into the job role anymore. It's like you
Mhm.
can still learn, you can still manage other people. And when you do get a hankering to code something for yourself, you end up taking on a project, or maybe you have some flex time at work, maybe 10 or 15%, where you could say, you know what, I'm going to step in a little bit more. And this is what happened to me a bit at Google. My managers toward the end of my time there, uh, they loved coding still, but they rarely got time to do it. And so when they did get time, they cherished that. And then they got to tackle a project that they wanted to tackle, and they got to be involved where they wanted to be involved. If your career were to take you on that path, I don't think you'd be upset necessarily, but it wouldn't be where you're trying to steer yourself now. So how open are you to that being the result that you get?
As long as I'm kind of like satisfying that creative aspect of the job, like I think I would be comfortable as that being an option. Um, I hadn't really like thought about that before, and I kind of was like very, so earlier on in my career, I actually like was being positioned too early for leadership roles, I think. And I kind of reacted to that and got another job as an IC, and tried to like, and which was I think was a good choice because I was basically like a mid-level engineer that was getting, you know, prepped for the CTO of a small company, and
Yeah.
like I was not ready for that, and I wanted more experience. And so like that kind of turned me off of like the stuff that they were having me do that was management wise was, uh, I, I really disliked it because it was like uh, brick and mortar, you know,
Yeah.
IT like security camera and stuff, and I was just like it was a bad experience. So like I leaned super hard the other way. Um, but as far as like working on a bigger team, that seems like I really like that part, that collaboration.
Yeah, and this is one of the things where if you never re-examined why did I leave that more brick and mortar business, the management opportunity, you might not have thought, could this new thing fit into that? Now, I don't want to steer you in a direction you don't want to go in. I'm just trying to interpret what you're telling me. And it sounds like your anxiety comes more from the IC part of doing this stuff. And also you like what you're doing now. Those two things combine into, hey, let's at least keep this on our radar and see what happens if you just keep growing in this way. The other thing you need to consider, I might have talked to you about this already. Have you seen Good Will Hunting?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, math genius who basically didn't want to be a math genius. And so, what if your true skills align with you're going to be the best manager that company's ever seen, but you're like, no, I want to stick to the IC route. I think you should have the freedom to stick to whatever route you want. And yet, at the same time, you might get the gratification, you might get the whatever promotions, rewards, success, enthusiasm that you have that might only show up through that route. So, something to consider. Let's at least kind of keep an eye on this.
Sure.
And yeah, I'll write this down too. Keep an eye on
It'll be
whether.
very surprising. My dad has been, my dad's in sales, and I've always been like, I have the opposite personality of him, and like I always wanted to be like an IC, you know, go deep into problems type person. So it's interesting that it like that might be a part of my path.
It might be. And the other thing too, if you picture someone who's good at sales, I do not picture the same personality without knowing anything else, just whatever stereotypes I have in my head. I don't picture sales, genius to be the same as engineering manager genius. They have
Sure.
different personalities in my mind. And you've probably seen the gamut across your managers that you've experienced too. And yeah, I think I don't know. It's something I want to keep an eye on. And I don't want to steer you away from this, but it's like you might be sort of getting some signs that this shift is a good thing. So let's at least keep an eye on it. The other thing I wanted to say is you said you've had an opportunity to delegate more. You have more duplication on projects so that if someone were to go on vacation for a month, it's not like they're the only person who has that expertise. Um, I think of this as a great way of growing your skills, but delegation is also a really good way of growing the person you're delegating to. And so, do you look at things in that way? Are you considering where they want to grow their careers, where their interests lie, where their strengths lie?
Yeah, so definitely I haven't had any like I don't have scheduled one-on-one meetings with any of the people that are kind of like I'm delegating stuff to because they're not like directly underneath me.
Mm,
Um, but I do think about the skills that they have and things that like may show up as like not as trained on code reviews and stuff like that, and I kind of like try to allocate tasks in that direction so they can learn. Like one of them was like there's I came up in a code review that like I would like the way that this layout was built. only works for like one viewport.
Hmm.
And so like I had them refactor the layout with Flexbox and kind of like learn more responsive stuff. So I was kind of I had a mentor at my first job that was very big on like taking the time to assign work that is very critical, like that is specifically useful to the skills that you want to develop.
Yeah.
And my manager actually mentioned that as um, part of the that last meeting was that that skill set is really good for us looking to hire. We're only hiring like very staff people and very junior people right out of college. So he said that skill is really useful because we're going to be bringing on more juniors.
Yeah, I see. Um, Everything you've said about your manager, by the way, has been a positive thing that you've shared. Uh, and I think that's interesting because if you've ever heard someone complain about somebody else, you hear the negative things about that person and you always think, what's the other side of that, right? I'm hearing the opposite. I'm hearing the positive things, and I'm not wondering what's the negative side. I'm just thinking you seem to respect this person, and they've always seemed to have your back, and they've always seemed to appreciate what it is you bring to the table. And so I hear about your self doubt and the needing validation. It sounds like you've been a rock solid contributor to the team. So I would try as much as possible to quell any thoughts otherwise, because you have no
Yeah.
signs indicating that that's the case. Um, Now, with this thing about your manager appreciating your skill set here, there's one thing I wanted to add. Are you ever considering the timeline of a project in addition to these skills and gaps that people have?
Yeah. We don't have hard deadlines, thankfully. We don't have
Okay.
like customers that are waiting for features. It's kind of we're shipping on a roadmap. Um, and you know that's by design. We did like last year we had um, kind of like a poorly run project that we had promised to a customer.
Hmm.
And it was like a death march for a while.
Yeah.
And I think as a reaction to that, we've gone like super far the other way. Like, don't tell customers about you know specific features on a timeline, that kind of stuff. So with the SaaS model that we're in, it works for that, and so we don't have hard timelines, but I think that is like the balance I'm trying to strike is like I want to teach you a little thing on everything you do, but not like I'm not going to make you spin your wheels for too long
Yeah.
before
Okay.
getting to the next thing.
I think that's good because one of the things I was going to say is sometimes there's a business need to get something out, and it's probably tempting to put a very senior person on it to just get it done. But then, hey, the junior person could have learned. So anyway, it sounds like all that's in your
Yeah.
head. Sounds like that's going well. You mentioned, let me just scroll back up to the top here. So planning, research, triage, and delegation. So no concerns on your radar about any of those?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, like I'm still showing up as like lesser on the points scale in retros, but like I'm just not caring about it,
Okay.
or I'm trying not to care.
Yeah. Yeah, for sprints, but trying not to care. So let's just drill into that for a sec. The trying not to care. Is it still getting to you? Is it still something that's been tough to see? Hey, other people have higher point totals at the end.
It's it's getting to me less. I have noticed that like it's almost like the more junior someone is, the more points they have,
Yeah.
and like it that might be just like how they're allocating points. Like they don't have the same time scale. We don't have matching time scales at all on the team, so it's like totally arbitrary to compare. Um, I just like always have a little bit of work that I don't get to every sprint, and I that bothers me.
Okay. And yet, okay. So here's one other thing, and you already must recognize this. So hopefully, it doesn't sound like I'm preaching the choir here. Uh, to have work at the end of a sprint means that something is going into the backlog that already came from the backlog, right? So it's
Mhm.
like you already have this massive amount of backlog as a team, and you've taken a tiny little like rock chip off of it and said, I'm gonna put this back. So regardless of whether you unless you overworked yourself, there's always going to be that massive amount of tasks that don't get done.
Right.
And
Sure.
the next week you could always tackle it, or the next sprint, or whatever it is. Uh, anyway, that's that. And I'm sure, like I said, that you realize that. So let's see, what else do you have here? New focus on collaboration throughout the team. Um, yeah, and before we get to this, actually, so the onsite, I want to talk about that for a second. How do you feel now looking back? Because now this was slightly over a month ago.
Um, the I do feel a little bit bummed because there's a lot of inside jokes that I missed, like a lot of you know, a lot of humor that I'm uh like not privy to, but I'm kind of trying to reinforce things that I can control. Like we people have started going to the co-working like huddles in Slack that I organized.
Hmm.
And so I'm getting more like conversational with people and getting more like social time in general, less isolated, I think. Um, so I'm like I can't control it. Like it is what it is. Like they hung out and I didn't get to hang out. So I'm just doing what I can to make myself friendly, I guess, with the rest of them.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. You know, it's like I said about your manager. You say positive things about your manager to me, and there's got to be some complaint somewhere. I'm not asking for it. It's just like you're sharing the positive because that's what you think about. And so when I asked you about this, the first thing you jumped to was the camaraderie aspect, the humor, the inside jokes that get shared, and not necessarily, hey, they made a ton of progress without me, or it
Hmm.
was that aspect. And I
Yeah.
recognize you're a remote employee. You said you haven't really been able to meet up with these people. Maybe some of them you've, yeah, and you probably wanted to meet. So I think you're doing the next best thing, which is until the next onsite, which you're hoping to make it to. You've been starting these huddles. So how long has that been going on for?
Um, I probably have been doing so it's like once a week, maybe for the last like it started before the onsite, so maybe like 8 weeks or something.
Got it. Okay. And what's the turnout like?
So it was like nothing until after the onsite. Like it's totally optional, so like people either join the room or don't. But it was nothing essentially until um yeah, like the 1 week or two after the onsite, and then people have been joining every time now.
Okay. Yeah. And you're happy with that turnout?
Yeah, I mean it's nice to just talk about stuff, either work stuff that comes up or just non-work stuff, just like what are you into, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And this is maybe one of the most specific questions I'll ever ask. Have you had any nuance inside jokes with people as a result of these co-working sessions?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah. So they serve that purpose at a smaller scale, but more often, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think this is good. Look, a lot of this is you can only count on the path being the right path so far, the trajectory being the right trajectory, and this is a positive slope. And that's it. So, look, if this continues to go well, if you want to expand this, if you want to start meeting with some of these people, or, one time someone mentions a movie that they watched and you're like, oh man, we should talk about that. By the way, I've done that before. Sometimes someone will send out an intro email. Hey, I'm new to the team. I'm really into Zelda. And I'll send them an email and be like, oh, I just got Tears of the Kingdom. And so, yeah, you never know how that stuff will go. I think it's good. You're forming friendships too, I hope, throughout this, and you're kind of
Mhm.
solidifying your position in the team. As a result of this, so you mentioned originally that you felt bummed. Do you feel heartened by this fact? Are you positive about the future of this, given that you're doing these co-working huddles?
Yeah, I think so. It seems like the yeah, what you said, like there's a positive slope to it. So I feel like um, we are, especially like between teams, like we didn't have a lot of conversation, so it's like good to have these like cross team uh, hangout sessions, especially like even like what are you working on type thing, and it's like, oh, that's kind of like tertiary to my task, and I get a better idea of what your timeline is and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is great. No, I think this is great. I wanted to see if you did too, because if not, we could talk about how you want to improve it or anything. But it sounds like this is good. I'd keep doing that. Yeah, and just kind of see where that goes. So, okay, that was my interlude before we got to this next one. You wrote new focus on collaboration throughout the team after the onsite. Manager challenged me to take advantage of it. So, how is that taking form?
um so yeah, part of that was the co-working sessions. It seems like that is probably influenced directly because of the on-site. Like people
Yeah.
feel more comfortable hanging out. Um, um, yeah, I mean, so we've been pairing on projects more. So I don't really know how to like specifically take advantage of the fact that they have better relationships now, but I'm kind of just um, trying to involve more people in conversations.
Hmm.
Uh, and that seems to be going well. I don't really know specifically like how to action on that like challenge.
Well, when was this challenge presented to you?
It was like so like in the wake of the on-site where like I think I had messaged you that day that was like uh we had like kind of a rough like experience for the people that didn't go on to the on-site.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then my manager like addressed it and he and in that conversation um had said like you need like use this momentum uh to kind of like do what we need to do. And
Okay.
that's like a challenge for you as a more senior person.
Okay, I see. So, all right. Again, maybe this is my interpretation, and this might sound blunt. I think this was maybe a throwaway comment in the wake of what was discussed, and not a "Hey, I'm going to track this. This is like OKR level work." Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, it hasn't come up again.
he's not looking for follow up or something. Okay, I see. So then, what I would say is, um, and maybe you're not even concerned about this, but almost like treat it as a throwaway and like, yeah, well, if I can't think of a way to take action on it, then I just won't. And if something had come into your head, if you had 5 ideas, I'd be like, oh, by all means, pursue them. But if nothing's coming to mind, then yeah. So yeah, sounds like a throwaway comment. No need to take action. Okay. Let's see. Seems to indicate a reduction of breakneck feature delivery and a new push for robustness. This you'd mentioned, a year ago you had a push for, you had a death march, reduction of breakneck feature delivery. So what is that about then?
Um, so we're doubling up on projects. So like the projects do end up getting done fast, but not everybody is on their own solo project with their own
Oh, I
fat
see. Okay.
timeline. So it seems like we have that flexibility of like if one person has to do another task off project,
Yeah.
like the stuff work's still getting done, so there's still progress happening. Um,
And how are people responding to this in general? Do they like the duplication, the pairing up?
yeah, I think it's only been positive in
Okay.
response because like people are doing pair programming sessions, people are doing. Um, I think it's challenging for people to break tasks down into like shareable things, chunks sometimes, especially like on if you're working on the same components or like on the same routes where components might like change
Yeah.
and things like that. Like rebasing becomes hard, but other than that, I think people have been positive about it. Planning needs to be super hardcore though, or like way harder than
Yeah.
before.
Well, and you mentioned in session 2 that you started to do that, a planning bit of each task that you took off. And I'm guessing that as the more senior people are probably doing that breakdown. This is a very interesting development though, because this push seemed to come out of the last month or two, not even two, right? Last month or so.
Mhm.
Where can you trace the pairing up to?
I think it was something that came out of the on-site. Like they kind of
Uh,
like how it was framed to me in my one-on-one was people like have this social energy now,
mhm.
and we're gonna use that to have people work together on projects, so not everybody's so isolated, and how there's only one project owner for each feature,
Yeah,
or like project like designated person.
I see. Look, I think it was the right call. I especially think when it's a largely remote company that this is very important because otherwise, I think work turns into this obfuscated mask of like I put in time and like I don't see people, I don't go outside to do my work, I don't there's no commute. So I think that can be tough for some people and I think we're naturally social creatures and want to work with each other anyway at some point. Plus the thing is even if you're working on your own project, you're working for some larger greater good of the team. So I think this is really good. I'm glad they made this decision. And part of the reason I even take the time to talk about this is it's worth recognizing when the company's moving the right direction. I've worked at companies before that are so large that we would get these surveys of like, how do you feel about the CEO and what they're doing? How do you feel about the VPs? And I'm like, I have no insight into any of that. Like, I'm some leaf node
Yeah.
worker 7 hops away from the CEO. And so you're seeing these actions being taken as a result of a dynamic aspect of your team. Hey, people got together, so let's go harness that energy. And they did. And now people seem to be enjoying it. And I'd be curious to see if 6 months from now, people are still doing this sort of thing, if there's still that energy. And I wonder if the on-site serves as a way of re-upping that energy so that they eventually make it biannual instead of annual. Because maybe that's what ends up happening. Maybe that's something you
Yeah.
end up proposing at some point as a result of, hey, I noticed that the social energy is waning. Let's get it back. Let's do more on-sites. So yeah, I wonder if this will be the case in 6 months or so. Wonder if another on-site is in store.
It makes sense because like before the on-site, like it seemed to be like in an all-time low,
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of like people are, they show up for the stand-up and like they barely chat in Slack, and then the PR comes in and that's like the only interaction. But like it definitely picked way up after. Um, even like the Slack channels that aren't directly work related, just like
Yeah.
talking about music, that kind of stuff. Like people just like are involved more.
Yeah, very interesting. Because if that is a trend that you see, I mean, I think this is part of becoming more senior at companies too, is noticing patterns other people don't notice and then acting on them before people even realize there's a problem. And a lot of times that comes out in the form of work. You see, hey, wait a second, this one person I delegated work to made a UI that wasn't responsive. Maybe our team doesn't know about responsive UIs. And then you go and give a brown bag lunch or something, and now you've educated the whole team on a problem they weren't even aware of. And
Hmm.
that same thing happens culturally. So yeah, with these on-sites, I wonder if you were to talk to your manager or somebody and just say, hey, here's the thing I noticed, how they'll respond. And they might be like, you know what, you're right. Yeah, 3 months from now, I'm going to write a calendar reminder to see has social energy lessened and what can we do about it. So yeah, I'd just say keep an eye on this. Okay,
Good
yeah.
idea.
So let's see, what's this next thing here? I've been trying to generalize some components across multiple features, help newer team members. Yeah, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so I just like it's kind of like the I think I was proud to kind of talk about how I generalized some stuff so that it could be shared between like we have a bunch of forms
Hmm.
and there's a lot of like UX that has been iterated on for uh, components in some parts of the app that people are making in other parts of the app
Hmm.
much simpler. Um, so they lose that like all that iteration that we did on the first part. And so I've been trying to push for like let's use that shared component so that we get all the benefits of you know the image uploader has a cropper and has the correct accessibility,
Yeah.
uh, you know modal handling and stuff, uh, rather than it just being like an upload button in another place. And I when I bring up that kind of thing, I think while the end result is good, there is some resistance from my manager
Yeah.
on premature optimization because he doesn't want people to build a UI library.
So wait,
And
there's resistance for using the shared components?
like for like kind of like encouraging people, like encouraging the whole team to think about making general UI and wasting time with
Oh,
that.
oh. Okay, so I think there are two pieces here. One is using a general component that already existed, and the other is making new ones where needed.
Yeah, I because I had brought it up as like um in a retro, like maybe there's like a way we could surface components that like we have Storybook, but like not everything is in there. Um, Maybe during planning we can call out components that have been used before that look similar to stuff in mockups.
Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of like may like be careful about premature optimization. Like I'd rather people make the same thing multiple times, and then like the generalization comes from that.
Okay. They want, yeah, or I'll say they're okay with people making the same thing a bunch of times. Look, this is one of those things where it could work both ways. You see three of something that exists, so you say, okay, fine. Now clearly we've proven a need. Let's go make it into one thing, and let's make this one thing better. But then you could also see that, hey, this pattern repeats itself a lot of times, and it ends up creating tech debt. And you think, well, if I had a magic 8 ball that could answer, will this component turn into three components, and we need to turn it back into one? Then yes, of course you do it ahead of time, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so I wonder if there's some middle ground where once two of these exist that you say, okay, time for a common component. I wonder, is there
That's what I've
anything?
been doing.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so like the third time, I basically will generalize so that covers the first two times.
yeah, yeah. Okay. They make a common component. And are you satisfied with that? Are you okay with that as a compromise?
Yeah, yeah. I just like I thought it was weird that like maybe I had like phrased it in a way like I don't know if it was like he sees what I'm trying to say. He's worried about other people misinterpreting what I'm trying to say, and kind of like hedging a little bit by making sure people know not to prematurely optimize.
Yeah,
I didn't put that like I'm on the third time. I haven't like said on the
yeah,
third time I'm going to generalize, but like that is my strategy for generalizing. I would never try to do it the first time.
yeah. I see. Okay. And part of this too is I think sometimes this is just how software goes. People, I- if you have too much, like, hey, we need an image uploader. Okay, well, let's go find the right way of doing things. Let's wade through whatever documentation may or may not exist or the code base. Then what would have been a small task ends up turning into a medium or large one, or ends up involving other people. And sometimes people just want to go. And that's especially true when you have a company that's growing, because process gets added on to then make it so that things are consistent and that people are using these components all over the place. So I think that's part of the cultural growing pain of a company. And if you're happy with the compromise for now, I think that's probably as good as you can do. There was one other piece of this that I wanted to talk about, though, which I wrote down as junior wrangling. So you have this image uploader that you mentioned, and it sounds like, okay, that's already a common component and people need awareness of it. Do you ever feel like you're telling people, I'm telling person A today and I'm telling person B 4 days from now, and how do I let everybody know this stuff? Is that happening for you? Do you find yourself wrangling people?
Not yet. Um, I don't think there's enough people on the team for that to be like a an issue, but
Okay.
I we are pushing for things to be developed like in storybooks so that there's like a documentation to features as they're developed now. There's just like stuff that's been that hasn't like there's a bunch of stuff from like the last year that didn't make it into it, so people don't know they should use it.
Yeah. I see. Okay. Yeah. I think everything's fine then. I'm not going to try to, point out problems where there aren't problems, but I do need to prod sometimes and figure out. Yeah. Now you did write the thing about co-working sessions here, and we talked about this. So what is this exciting email?
Yeah, I just got like a really cool job opportunity. Like it didn't work out. They filled the role before I could interview, but he said like he'll let me know the next time it comes up. Um, and it was for a staff level role, and it's the first time I've had any interest in me as a staff engineer. So, and it's like a pretty major company in like the React space. So, I was pretty excited about it, and I tried to like you know add him on LinkedIn and like not be too like thirsty about it, but just make myself available if the opportunity comes up again. And I also was like very nervous about like being underqualified for the role, but knew that I would have had to do the interview if it was offered because it was like that much of a you know opportunity.
Wow. Well, I got to say, first of all, congratulations. When we started in session number one, you said my timeline is 5 years, and in 3 months, you got an offer to be staff level. So that's certainly something.
Not an
And
offer, no offer for
well,
sure.
okay, offer to interview to eventually,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, whether or not that had worked out, it doesn't matter. They filled it for a totally benign reason, right? There's no way you could have gotten in fast enough, it sounds like. So, reaching out to this person, they said they'd keep you up to date. Did you ask them something like, how often do these positions come up? I know you said you didn't want to seem too desperate, but
No, I just said like I asked if we could if like if any time frees up and we could have like 15 minutes just to talk about like work there is and what projects are coming up for the company in the future, um, so that I could like, skill up if I needed to in a certain arena,
Yeah.
because I was interested in the company. So
And did that
that's the kind of
happen?
like,
Or was that a
no,
long?
I haven't really gotten a response.
And
The
what?
person that emailed me was like pretty major in the
Mhm,
company, so like I was very surprised to get the email in the first place from that person.
I see. And when was that?
Like a week ago, maybe.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think you're on their radar. And I don't think these are the kinds of things that people just ditch if they need somebody else. Usually you kind of have a network and you put the people who are at the top, they still end up being at the top. And if you ever leave a company, you might still get messages from them saying, hey, we want you back. Um, I think this is good. I think it's good that someone reached out to you. I think feeling underqualified, the feeling is normal. You are probably not underqualified. So your manager is currently giving you more responsibility, expecting you to do more. It sounds like you're delivering on it. And then that cycle repeats itself. Then your manager gives you more, you deliver on it, cycle repeats itself again. And so at some point, you've done that enough where you're just staff level and they haven't named you staff yet. And it's at that point that you start saying, well, look, when does this promotion come in? I've drastically changed my scope since I've started. So this is a sign that you're definitely headed in the right direction. It sounds like, you said you would have interviewed. How likely would you have been to take the job?
I mean, I I said like I think I would have interviewed expecting not to get the job.
Hmm.
Um, but if I would have been offered the job, uh, there's a pretty good chance I would have taken it. I probably I have feelings about letting your current company counter,
Yeah.
um, because if they could pay you the amount, they should have paid you that before and all that. But um, yeah, there's like growth opportunity here. They're
Hmm.
like a later stage company, so there's less growth opportunity, but it would look better on my resume to be at a company like this. Um, I don't know.
Okay. No, and those are all totally valid thoughts to have about this of the whole, well, except for the I wouldn't have probably gotten it. I think you should have confidence in yourself. You would have gotten it.
Sure.
100%. Everything else totally fine. I agree with that. You never know how this is going to go. Encountering can be kind of controversial. Like I think there are some cases where you can take it, but then people always think like, doesn't that indicate that you're on your way out the door? You already interviewed for a place. So whatever, we could talk about that if that actually comes up. Yeah, and just see where that goes. If you do end up hearing from this person again, I'd love to have that be a bullet point for next time. So just to kind of see where this goes and what you did about indicating where are my gaps in relation to your company so that I can go get those skills. I think that's a really, really good signal to give off because it shows that you're very serious about it and not just, hey, I'm a know-it-all. I'm going to come in and be great on your team. The part about being underqualified, by the way, this is probably not all that helpful to talk about, but I always wonder how VPs or CEOs switch between companies because imagine being something like the head of Blizzard and then going and being the head of anything else. Just picture any other company, Ubisoft. Um, how do you do that? How do you ramp up? How do you
Yeah.
and so if those people can go between jobs and they can still prove that they're successful at the new jobs, then I think we can find ways to do that too. And especially if it's similar enough to your current space. So um
I guess also, I have never done a staff interview before,
mhm,
and I don't have any idea of what's expected at that level, and this is probably getting into the tier of company where they're not going to give me. I don't know how they interview. Um, I know that higher tier companies usually kind of, even for front end people, will go the lead code direction at least for one
yeah.
part of the interview. So I haven't had to do that in my career yet. I did a fizz buzz in my first job, but the rest of the challenges have been very related to front end work. Make an app, that kind of stuff. But so that's kind of like why I felt
I
underprepared,
see.
because like I would like to do staff level interviews for companies that I am not super interested in
Yeah.
working for before I get to the one I am,
Yeah, I know
if
what you mean.
possible.
And I think this is where almost any company should be willing to share with you, here's what our process looks like. And a lot of companies now, I think, will just say something like, if it's elite code, they'll just say, look, it's like a leak code style problem. And if you know that, then you can at least prepare for it. And then it becomes a question of how long do you tell them, hey, I need 3 weeks for this or something, or hey, now's a really bad time. What if I got back? So you could do some negotiation on the time for that, because typically, if you're a good candidate now, you're going to be a good candidate 2 months from now. Um, but yeah, then there's a question of how much do you preemptively prepare for something that may never happen. And so I would probably make this more demand driven. If you did hear back and you found out, yes, we do leak code, it's 50% of our evaluation process. And I'd say, okay, time to start doing leak code.
Yeah.
Time to buy extra powerful medicine for your kids. So, but yeah, otherwise, I think I probably wouldn't start veering into that lane just yet. You did ask this, should I apply to the job posting anyway so my info is on file for the future? I would probably wait another week to see if you hear back from that person with whom you asked 15 minutes, and then maybe
Mhm.
ask them this question. And if they don't get back to you, I'm not sure. I'd probably just ask in Discord what the general consensus is there. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe wait
I
for it.
didn't know if it was like it's good to be in the system because I know like Google, I've heard you go into a database and then they can pull from that database in the future. So I don't know if it's like I should assert myself into their database or not.
Well, the thing is, they reached out to you in the first place, so they had some
That's
way
true.
of finding you, and that probably means they have something on file already saying we reached out to this person, but maybe not. Processes can be all over the place depending on the company,
Sure.
so I'm not sure. I had some things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
it.
for one, let's start with this. So you did just mention one of them. What are your successes in the last month?
Yeah, so that was a nice little boost.
Hmm.
Um, just getting good feedback on projects I'm planning and having that kind of go well.
Hmm.
Um, people like the project that I'm working on currently with another developer has come together really fast, and I think faster than people expected. So that's always nice to be on like the uh, delivering early.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
co-working huddles are going well.
yeah, that too.
Okay, one more. What's one more success?
Um, I don't know. I'm kind of blanking right now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
So part of the reason I do this, and I think, what's kind of interesting about the current group of three mentees is I think you're all invested in each other too at this point, or at least it sounds
yeah.
like it. So, I'd ask Rami, hey, how are you going to celebrate? And he's like, I'm going to buy a cupcake and, get some frosting or whatever. Are you, you've noticed this. It sounds like things are going pretty well. I think things have probably been pretty hectic too, having sick kids, doing all this stuff. You're working on a side project before that. There's a lot going on. So, do you feel anything is worth celebrating of the successes you've had here? Because I think even the things that sound mundane to other people, it's, if you said, hey, I got 3 promotions in a row or something, it's like, okay, most people are going to be like, wow, that's amazing, congratulations. If you did something like, hey, this project is coming together faster than normal, people will be like, hey, that's great, and not, throw a party or something. But
Mhm.
is there something you feel is worth celebrating here? Is there something you want to do to acknowledge and sort of solidify that success?
Um, honestly, like the way that I've been celebrating that kind of stuff is like giving myself some relief of anxiety. Like it relieves my anxiety a little bit, so it
Yeah.
feels like a celebration. Like I'm not as worried, I guess, for a period of time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I hope,
I don't know if that's a cop out.
well, it's not, I don't think it's a cop out exactly, although I would push for something explicit and something a little bit different. So something as simple as, yeah,
Like a
today,
ritual,
what was that?
like the ritual of it, like
Like,
do
yeah,
something.
yeah, exactly. Something that's a space in time that you can look back at and be like, here's what this is for, and not something that's always forward looking. Because I think we have that
Mhm.
tendency to do that, especially once you start getting more senior. It's like, what's the next step? What's the next step? So I'd at least consider that a little bit, and hopefully, eventually, you stave off the worry entirely. Your scope will probably always be at least slightly growing, unless at some point you decide, you know what, I'm happy with staff. I'm not going to try to get any higher than this. Then cool. Then you can start to, I don't know, work up that level yourself and be there the rest of your life. Um, so okay, yeah, and pushing this even just one step further. So if you were to celebrate even something very small, what might you do?
Um, let's see. I think my wife and I usually cash in on celebrations as opportunities to like order food
Hmm.
instead of uh instead of preparing dinner,
Yeah.
just because it's like a time saver and it's an energy saver. So like that's usually like how we cash in on things.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, maybe just order dinner and
Okay.
like not have to make it that night.
And I'm gonna go just one tiny step further. Pick a cuisine.
Hmm. Thai.
Okay. Great
The Thai
choice.
food order is very expensive for us, but it's very good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I want you to keep this in mind. And I'm not saying you have to do this as homework or something, but like, I really think the celebrating successes thing is important. And that without it, I think we just keep jumping from thing to thing and never giving ourselves credit. So, and especially for what you've told me about validation, um, I think we have talked a bit about validation here. And so I want to get to this point that I had. Has your wife noticed any differences in your work related behaviors in the last few months?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've articulated my feelings better about the subject. And so she understands like the process I'm going through of trying to reduce that. So maybe we haven't talked about like that she's noticed any difference, but like she's aware of the situation. She kind of like uh my youngest is going through like a developmental leap right now.
Hmm.
So when that happens, often the sleep gets really bad.
Yeah.
So we're like sleeping pretty poorly this week. But she like knew about my feelings about not getting to work enough and that kind of stuff, and kind of like created an opportunity for me to work on a Saturday to catch up, and that was like super relieving to me to like uh, just to relieve some of the internal pressure that I had.
Yeah.
So she's definitely helping me deal with the anxiety, uh, and at least understands what I'm going through,
Yeah. Okay,
even
that's
if it's
good.
not like what she feels.
Um, you said work on a Saturday though. You're saying because of the lost sleep, things got piled on?
So we talked about it before, but I don't have like a I don't work like a nine
Oh,
to five.
yeah.
So like if I lose some time during the week because I have to pick up the kids, I would work in the evening to make up for that time on that day. But with the recent sleep problems, I haven't been able to work in the evening,
Yeah.
um, and so I've just been like losing time. So like getting to make up a little bit of time, it kind of like let me relax a little bit about it.
I see. And what would happen if you hadn't done that? Do you feel projects would have slipped behind? Like, yeah, what would you see as the repercussions?
Um, Sometimes if I don't like get work in at the right point, it becomes even harder to get it in later. So like if I don't like prepare this part, the schema of the form before the rest of the work is done on the form, um, the rebasing becomes really annoying to do and stuff like that. So like there are things that are like chronologically better to slot in,
Yeah.
and it helps me kind of do that.
Okay. I see. So it's not that you're concerned how other people will react to this or that you'll have this feeling of falling behind all the time. It's that work will become markedly harder to do in ways that you can track due to, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable enough. And this is one of those things where you mentioned, you have the flexibility during the day, so then that flexibility sort of gets paid in the nights or the weekends. Okay, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And um, I just, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, this developmental leap you're talking about, is it totally normal? Everything's fine. You think everything's going to go back to, okay, yeah. So you're going to get sleep again at
Yeah.
some point. Yeah.
It happened with my first kid. It's temporary. It's
Yeah.
just the brain developing.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think it's good. I wrote this down as a quick question. Where does your manager live in relation to you? I guess let's put it in terms of like hour long drive. Like, is it, 12 hours away? Is it like 40 hours away?
It's not drivable. I live in Arizona,
Hmm.
and they live in like outside of San Francisco.
Okay. I see. Yeah. So very far. Because one of the things I was going to suggest, I know you were bummed about not being able to meet your manager. Uh, is there some way you could set something up? And this is one of those moonshot ideas of like if it happened to work out, or if your manager's like, you know what, I was thinking of going to X location, which is close enough to you. And anyway, yeah, never mind. So I'll just leave it at
I
that.
was thinking about. I had talked to my wife about maybe like we'll do a trip to San Francisco, and like he would drive in, that if I had an opportunity to like work for a day or two while we do that trip. But yeah, it's something we talked about, but nothing concrete yet.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, panned out from that. I think that's reasonable enough. Toastmasters, I wanted to check out as well. So, did you end up trying it out? Did you go?
No time. I looked
Yeah.
into it, but I haven't had an opportunity yet.
Okay. Yeah. Um, so still on your radar though, something you want to do, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's. I feel like every day I get a little bit better, but uh, taking the time to specifically work on that as a dedicated task, I think would be good as a dedicated skill.
Yeah, I think it always starts with awareness. And the other thing is they're not doing anything that's magical there, right? They have a structure and they have people there. I think the people is the magical part. If you were to practice speaking in front of a mirror, it does not instill the same sense of nervousness that it would if you were in front of a stadium full of people, for example. And
Sure.
there's just no way to replicate that on your own, I think. But as far as paying attention to what words you're saying, yeah, you can totally do that. And if you're on your own or if you're watching a video of yourself. So I think it's good you're at least considering this stuff, and hopefully you're noticing some improvements in your meetings that you're having. Let's see, books, React Native side project. So we talked about the kind of lack of time. Have you had a chance to read it all?
Um, I've just continued working on the refactoring book.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, I haven't like started any new books. Just
Yeah,
kind of like reading a little bit at a time with that. It's kind of like at the once you get to a certain point in that book, it's talking about specific
yeah,
refactorings, and so like it's kind of slower to move through
yeah.
because it
And
has to like set up a situation.
yeah, and if you've extracted most of the value of it, who knows? Maybe you could move on and not
Yeah.
worry about it so much. The last thing I had here that I kind of wanted to talk about is that I had ignored one of your bullet points now from, I guess, session number one. Do you still find this relevant? Do you see the selected text I have?
Yeah, so I've never worked at a company before. Like we have a staff level engineer here, but
Hmm.
before that, I had never worked with a staff level engineer. So I'm just curious as to like your insight of ones you've worked with in the past, uh, kind of like how they operated and what was like their like what was noticeable about their personality or you know things they did.
Yeah. So I think I think of staff level as being two completely different things. It's either the more individual contributor part or it's the manager part. And to be honest, as a manager, I don't think it's drastically different from the senior level managers, other than that they seem more refined and kind of polished in how they approach things, and they clearly have more experience doing it. And so it with managers, I find it's very hard to rattle a staff level manager. Like they're used to enough, they've seen enough, and their whole point of being there is to be able to absorb some of the stress so that they don't pass it on to their direct reports
Oh,
and be able to
interesting.
see things at a high level. With individual contributors, I think what ends up happening is, the way they talked about this at Google is a staff level engineer is usually creating problems and anyone below staff is solving the problems. And so it sounds kind of funny to say that you're creating problems as your job, but you are identifying areas that need to be improved. And this is sort of like what I was talking about with you earlier, where there's a pattern other people might not have even seen that you need to solve. And is everything okay, by the way?
Yeah, yeah. I think my wife is coming up. Can I BRB for like one
Yeah,
second?
yeah, totally fine. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right, empty chair. I want to ask you, what's your favorite programming language and why is it JavaScript? That's a compelling answer. But oh, hey again, I was talking to your chair. Um,
Sorry, my we have like a lock, like an un. You can't undo the lock from the outside, and she was like out front,
I
not
see.
able to get in.
No, no, totally fine. Yeah, so what I was saying is, I think with individual contributor staff level engineers, that they are creating problems for other people, and that is a very tough skill to identify what's actually worthy of the business's investment, and then finding the right people to do that. And then, and here's what I think is the hard part, is essentially seeing out that project. These may be year-long projects, and to me, and this is maybe getting personal to the point where it won't help you, but I never wanted to spend like a year or 2 years saying, here's a problem I want to tackle, and I'm going to go spend all my resources on this and do that. I felt like if I wanted to do that, I'd start my own company, which is why I started my own company. But that's what I think makes people staff level engineers, is saying, I'm going to essentially form a startup out of this company, tackle this problem, and make sure it gets done. And so
Interesting.
does that clarify? Does that give you enough sort of insight into how I feel about this?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's like I mean, Google is kind of like the highest scale of company that where you would staff at. I imagine like they have the most engineers. So like a staff level engineer at Google would probably have. I guess it would take a year to fix that problem, right?
Yeah, a lot of times, or many years, and in those processes, sometimes you've proven enough. Okay, first year went well, then they become the next level of staff, because staff is not where it stops at Google, at least. But um, yeah, and so I think what I would kind of take from this is, we all have an equilibrium we want to hit. And for some people, that's CEO. And so that's essentially the highest level you could achieve at a company if you think about it in terms of time investment. But for some people, it's senior. I want to be senior. I want to come to my work. I want to not think about work after work. And I've grown to the point where I'm happy. And now I just want to play, dodgeball after work all day. So uh, I think if your equilibrium is high enough to want to be staff, and you've said that it is, that there is a lot of growing that still happens on the job, even to still perform at that level. And there are those big projects that you're going to have to tackle, whether or not you want to, and ideally you want to, so that you do your job.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all my thoughts. If you ever have any other questions, feel free to ask. We are approaching the end of time, so I want to ask you the same thing I always do. How are you feeling in general? Still want to continue, still feeling positive? Where's your mentality at?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been great. I think I've been actioning on stuff we talk about, and it's been positive. In work and having another voice for my own like internal monologue and having it like kind of like summarized on a cadence, I think is super helpful for me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, and I'll say this every time. Thank you for doing this. There's a lot of very personal stuff we talk about, and like this is your life, and you're sharing it with the world. So I
Sure.
appreciate it. I'm glad you're taking this all seriously too. I see you trying to take action on some of these things, and for other things, it's like when the opportunity comes up, I know that you will. And so I'm hoping that this next month, or 6 weeks, or however long it is we end up taking, that one, you can get more sleep and just kind of recharge a bit. And if nothing happens outside of work, that's totally fine. I'm not going to say let's push these meetings so that they're 3 months apart or something. We'll just talk about work stuff. So yeah, great job. And
All right.
yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Yeah. All right. See you, Kyle. Bye.
Yeah.
All right. Let's switch back to regular stream mode. All right. Claps for Kyle. Clap, 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 clap. Why can't I copy the clap emoji? Why does it copy like this? All right, fine. I'll manually type clap a bunch of times. There we go. All right, let me close out of this. And I just want to make sure I'm not going to accidentally show a bunch of stuff. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so that gives everyone who hasn't seen this some insight into how the mentoring sessions go. Um, I will eventually update the mentoring schedule, and I'm now 2 videos behind, but I have uploaded 6 videos. So all the blue links that you see here are different videos. And now we have just had Kyle's session. I'll need to schedule another one, and I need to upload these 2 videos. These are all now going to a different YouTube channel completely, Adam Mentors. And the reason for that is because when you click videos on any YouTube channel, if you just saw these in there, you might be like, oh man, these are super long videos. Like, I don't want to watch these. And it's hard to filter just those out. So I put them on a different channel completely. So if you like this kind of content, you want to follow these people along their journey over pretty much half a year or a year, definitely check that out. You don't have 7TV installed. I have Better Twitch TV, and I have something else. I don't remember. Yeah. But the way I type clap emojis is with the same way I type kind of every other emoji, which is text expansions. So like rage, sunglasses, thumbs up, thumbs down. And that way I can do it everywhere on my operating system. FFZ, that was the other one. Thank you, Frank Racy. Yeah. Yeah. Great content. Well, thanks for watching, Trackley. Yeah, and so I know people were talking throughout that, and I guess it wasn't very much because I just already scrolled to the prep section that I was doing. But I do try to read that afterward and see what people are saying and, incorporate any feedback. I feel like the second document could be read easier if rows and columns were swapped. You're saying this? Because what all you really need to look at is this section, because this is a summary of all the other columns. But I see what you're saying. Yeah. If I put the mentees at the top here and then all the session information below them. Thing is, I wasn't sure how many mentees I would end up having. But yeah. That's definitely, it's good feedback. Yeah, so I've been streaming now for quite a long time. I am gonna go get lunch because I need to eat. And then when I get back, so post lunch will be probably 2 hours of working on the YouTube API wrapper and just seeing how this goes. Like maybe this should be its own entire package. I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely it for me for now. I will leave you with a couple of links if you want for those who are still here and listened to all of the content so far. But I will see you in the afternoon. I'm going to go get some food. Thank you all for watching and have a good rest of your day.